My name is May Hong. I am the speaking voice of Mira from K-pop Demon Hunters, and this is Moana Nui podcast. Signing off. Happy fans. Do it with me. Happy fans. Happy Hon.
Are we live? Are we live? Hey, fanboys, hey, fangirls. Carnell Holley here, back yet again for another live with Moana Nui podcast. And I am joined by the man of the hour, Mr. Hilton George. Sir, how are you?
What's up, man? Literally the hour. This is the hour.
Mm.
And I'm just the man that's sitting next to the man that's sitting next to the man. My man Carnell. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir. Pretty good at yourself. Oh man, there's so much that I because it feels like one of those situations where if I haven't been in contact with an individual for quite some time, and then we finally I'm talking to him, and then I'm like, all right, I gotta put all the stuff that I haven't said prior to up to this point before we can go further, because I saw you at BlerDCon in passing.
Just zoom. You saw colors and a streak
Pretty much,
and a blur,
pretty
and there I
much.
was.
Oh man, because I legit, because in my head, because I don't think you knew, because I knew that you had a lot on your plate, and just jumping into it right now, because you know how I do. Um, that I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go to BlerDCon, even though I can only be there for a day. I'm gonna maximize the day, come in the day before. I'm gonna interview Hilton, Zessie Beats, because I just found out how you actually pronounce her name, and then come to find out that she's part German. So I'm like, oh, not Zazie, Zassie, with the I was like, okay, all right. The more
The
you know.
Z is
Uh,
soft.
right, right, right. But I like in my head, like I was saying before, I was just like you're such a um wealth of knowledge for one, but an individual that you're so approachable, and then I'm just like I forget that it was like, oh, he's actually working this one, and so just
Well, it's
like
working
oh,
me.
it's like no time for interview, like I was just like dang, I saw that going a little differently, but I'm just like, yeah, he is working. No, no, no time, no time. But it's all good. I had fun. I had fun. You put the
Oh,
pressure on
good,
me
good.
because I like every time I see you at the at a convention, it's just like you got to come on out. But it was just like I know you got we all got stuff, but if you can't, come on out. And I'm like, and you didn't put any pressure, but I felt the need to come. And
Don't tell them
and
people that. Don't tell them people that. I leaned on your neck. I was like, every time I seen you, I gave you shit because you was always about to, almost was gonna,
all right,
but Craig and them, everything for
that came
forever.
up.
So I was
That
not
came
letting
up.
you off the hook.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate you lit the fire. You definitely lit the fire. Man. So if I'm doing my math right, so that was the ninth BlerDCon.
No, it was the eighth BlerDCon because
Okay,
everybody skipped a year for
was
COVID, but it's the ninth
right.
year of the con. So coming up on our 10th anniversary for 2027. It'll be 10 years since the first run of the
Mm,
convention in 2017. And who knew, right? Period, point blank. Who knew?
right, right.
But here we are.
No, okay. So I like to keep things light, geek out, but I would have to at least ask this to just to get this. Now I was late to the party. So I did not have the pleasure of meeting uh, the co-founder. Now, could you
Us.
speak Could you speak a little bit on Mr. Paris, Hassan Paris, what he brought to the con?
Yes, me and Haas went to college together. I mean, we were friends for, I want to say, at least 20 years before the first BlerDCon, maybe 25 if I'm doing my math right. And I mean, our paths just intertwined constantly for years. You know, I went to my first job after graduation was in higher ed, and it was in Michigan. And he just so happened with, you know, one of my line brothers happened to be going to Cooley Law School, which was only like an hour away from where I was, which was crazy because I was 7 hours away from where we went to college in North Carolina Central. And so he, you know, we were like each other's bad penny. We just kept coming. We just kept popping up. We just kept turning up in each other's lives. And so distance was never a break for us, even when, you know, we would be in the same town or we would be in the same place or the same region or we'd be far, far away. We always managed to stay in touch and stay connected. And Haas came in after the inception phase of BlerDCon, where I was, you know, going to conventions, started in 2013, cosplaying mainly, just really enjoying and getting acquainted with the nerd space and my inner nerd that had been, you know, kind of dormant for quite a long time since before high school. And so I was really kind of having my blurred midlife crisis in a way. So I'm going to all the cons, I'm having all the fun. And, you know, at the concept stage of BlerDCon, I was like, oh, this is like a really cool idea. Like if there was a convention that highlighted and showcased and centered, you know, Black cosplayers and artists and, you know, musicians and, you know, creators and, you know, all the stuff that we all love in the geek space, you know, we wouldn't be pockmarked and peppered, you know, throughout a wider space, but concentrated and highlighted and platformed. But I was one who was known for whimsy. Like I would get what we call in the South a wild hair up your ass. You know, you just kind of just come up with an idea and all of a sudden like it's an episode of Sanford and Son where there's this, hey, this is a really great idea. We're going to do this thing. It's going to be boom, you know, but maybe it's not as well thought out. Maybe you haven't bounced it off of as many people who have different perspectives and different expertise and different backgrounds than you to make sure that this isn't just something rattling around in your head and that it's actually something that could be real to people outside of your own brain. And he came into the BlerDCon process there because he was the first person I called, you know, kind of outside of the folks that are just like immediately to the left or the right of me as I was doing, you know, research. And I sent him a write-up. And, you know, he wasn't really deep in the nerd space. It wasn't like he was going to cons. He wasn't a cosplayer. You know, he was a comic book kid, just like a lot of folks. And, you know, he was like a real cool kid, too. You know, so he wasn't really a nerd per se as far as like being shy and introverted or anything like that. But he understood the concept and he understood the context. And, you know, I sent him the write-up. And, you know, I tell people all the time that, you know, if he had not at that moment said, you know, hey, this looks really cool. Like, you know, this is really something, because I didn't even send him like the idea as a partnership thing. Like this was really just me bouncing ideas as I often did. And I bounced a lot of bad ideas off of us, trust me. So this was not abnormal. And so I just sent him to write. It was like 2-3 pages, Microsoft Word document, you know, that kind of thing. And he was like, hey, I really dig this, man. This looks really dope, you know. And he started kind of running down like some of the steps that needed to take place. And this is from, you know, getting copyrights and domain names and, you know, some of the back undergirding of the business process that I was not as familiar with. And I was just like, well, you know, if you got time and you got the wherewithal, like, you know, do you want to come on board and do this with me? And he was like, hey, why not? You know, and we both kind of went in blind. But if if he had gone the other way, and this is where I really think his biggest impact was, if he at that moment had gone the other way and been like, "This sounds crazy, man. This is some dumbness. You just started a new job. You're out of town. You don't, you're kicking ass in higher ed administration. There's stuff that's on terra firma that you could do. Uh, just let this be your side thing. Just go cosplay, have fun, and don't make a life out of it. Just have fun with it, and I'll see you in Vegas next year. That kind of a thing.
Hmm.
I might not have hit the gas. I might not have gone the steps to put the things together and move this thing forward and put the team together and all the stuff that followed. That if he hadn't have done that, I probably wouldn't have done BlerDCon. Now I might have paused. I might have looked. We would have done a BlerDCon. I feel like the timing was right. I feel like there were a lot of black nerd consciousness emerging at the time.
Hmm.
So even if I had not done this, 2 years, 3 years down the road, some version of BlerDCon would have come about by somebody else, and I don't know how it would have done, or if the timing would have been off, or how well it would have been run or managed. But doing it that way that we did it, and doing it when we did it, was because of Haas coming in with his energy and with his enthusiasm, and him just kind of being like, hey, whatever we got to do, let's just do it. And we kind of went from there. So I mean, anybody who saw him at BlerDCon in those first 3 years before COVID, and saw us together at some cons, like we were at Dragon Con together. We did a awesome con together, and setting up a promo booth. You just saw his energy. Like, he loved people. Like, he just really loved the community. He really loved people, and that was, like, I think, a core component of his persona and his personality. And I think that part of it, the people part of it, was the thing that he really, really enjoyed the most. Even though he kind of came in on the side of the business guy who knows how to do all this foundational stuff. The thing he enjoyed the most was just the people and the connections and the handshakes and the hugs and the the what do they call it, the finger guns from across the room and all that sort of stuff. And that created, I think, a spiritual center for the convention that everyone kind of gathered around, like a center of gravity, if you will, that everybody kind of was able to gather around. And, it kind of allowed us to play the good cop, bad cop sometimes. I got to be the bad cop, obviously, because he was such a positive face on everything that some of the tougher decisions that maybe wouldn't have been as popular, I was able to do with a little less with a little more cover to
Hmm.
do and make some of the decisions that you have to make in business that aren't always as popular or maybe not as universally loved. Having him as that counterbalance for any of those things really, really helped out. And like I said, if he had not been as gung ho and a voice of enthusiasm and encouragement at the time that he was, we might not be sitting here, at least not in this way and in this context.
Hmm.
And that's important. That's really important. And I don't know that a lot of people know that. So thanks for that question.
No doubt, no doubt. Because I seen the picture, and I just like I knowing about the passage, not knowing him personally. I just like, man, I know there was something there, and so I was just hey, like dang. Um, but even before that, I noticed that because I was curious, is a lot of things that I was noticing even with the opening ceremony, but again before that,
The
you
opening ceremony for this year?
right. I want to get into that because I want to know where your headspace was. I saw the where you drew from, which was interesting. But
Uh,
I noticed that if it's accurate, like you were briefly in the military with
yeah,
signals.
yeah.
Okay, and that with the communications, the radio, satellite. all that jazz. So,
Fiber optics. It's all look. It's all. What do you call it? Redundant and old now, but it
mm,
was high tech then. But yeah, look what fiber optics. Like
right.
whoa, everybody. The '90s fiber optics. Whoa. Did he say that? That's what you used to work with? Wow, who's that guy? Right. Say fiber optics now, so you get laughed out of out of Verizon wireless shop or Best Buy.
Well, this is coming from a guy who constantly needs IT support. So I'm just like I need you. So I mean, you were there. Like, what made you go in?
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do with life, and I couldn't stay home.
Mm,
Look, it's a black trope in a way that's familiar to anyone who's over 30 watching this. That most of us are, if we're not like on a track, right? Going to college or, you know,
what is that?
picking up the family business or something like that. You really don't have that many avenues. Think of this is the 90s. You really didn't have many avenues to go in. There's no online college, there's no apprenticeships. And if you don't have something lined up, school wise, the army and was one of them. Military was one of them. And that's back when they were in the high schools. Like Army Recruiter had an office in high school, right?
Oh, wow.
He was part of like the face of people's out processing in high school. You graduate and you had a guidance counselor, and then there was a military representative, and there was, Job Corps, like this,
Mm,
all these exit doors represented by people with offices with name tags, right? And, it was one of those situations. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And my father was in the Marine Corps. The educational benefits for the Marine Corps were not that great at the time, and we made a decision together. Like as much as he loved the Marine Corps, like
mm,
if they're not going to give you any money and they're not going to give you any benefits and all that stuff, you got to go where the best deal is. And Army gave me the best deal, and that's kind of what it was. There was no deep thought in it because there's nothing really to think about, right? Because you don't know what you're going to do. They can describe it. You can
mm,
read it like, oh, this is going to be where you go for basic. This is where you're going to go for training. This is where you might go for your first duty station, the kind of job, all that. There's nothing that prepares you for it. So you really are kind of running into headfirst into a dark room and banging around on furniture until, your eyes adjust.
mm.
And that's everybody's entrance into the military, right? So yeah, I did that for 4 years, and then came out, and I banged around for about a year and a half before going to college at North Carolina Central University.
You got your bachelor's. What is it? A bachelor's in. What'd you get your bachelor's in?
It was art and visual communications. Loosely translated now, you would be graphic design.
Okay.
Is really where the crux of the visual communications part in the art department was.
So, oh, wait, I gotta ask this. So, did you put any of those skills in crafting some of the visuals for BlerDCon later?
Oh, absolutely not. The I use my eye to know what's good visual communications. I know what a
Okay.
good visual ad is. I know how to market things. I understand sales and things like that. That's from
Hmm,
my professional life and from my college education. But sitting down and like actually doing graphic design, it's a full time gig. Like if I had to do that for all the stuff that is required for BlerDCon, I wouldn't be able to run BlerDCon because I'd just be doing graphic design. And the game that's out there now with what technology can do and 3D modeling and animation and all of that stuff is just so far above and beyond anything I learned in college that all I can really do is just say, hey, I can look back and say, hey, that looks great, but does it communicate the message? How
hmm.
easy is this to absorb? I can deal with the marketing side much better and let the talented people on the design and the art side handle that and get out of the way and let great people be great.
I see why you got Marcus Williams. I like you. I can.
Hmm.
If you know his work, it's like, oh, okay, okay,
I've seen that work before.
right,
Like, who does that? Like,
right.
yeah, it's really
Momo-chan
iconic.
hero.
One of the best that's doing it and ever done it. And he's so creative. Matt Houston is our graphic designer. He's done some amazing work over the years. He came on with us at just before COVID, and he has an amazing design eye. And so the mix of the art, with the character design and the graphics and the animation and that visual communication
Hmm.
and palette, we've really done some amazing things with our graphic design pieces.
Nice, nice. I wanna I gotta circle back, but I know with my understanding that the was it because of MomoCon was the the spark for BlerDCon that that we were able to enjoy that, because I know that Marcus is a part of MomoCon with the artwork, and then because it's almost like like I know what you mentioned before with this other convention that never was, but the whole because what is it? MomoCon is one of those conventions that it's very diverse, and you would think honorary. It's like, oh, it's a BlerDCon, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like I've heard I speak so highly of it, and with BlerDCon, which is now on the list, that I could say like yo, you got to go there. But like, how were you able to? Because I know that you go to different cons, but like with how did you pick up Marcus to bring into the fold to help out with everything?
Well, he didn't come on until like the second year, and him and Greg, you got to remember, this was 2014, 2015.
Right.
And for a lot of folks watching this, they might not have been as cognizant of where we were as a country and as a community, where cons were, and how they existed in the ecosystem of nerddom that they do versus what they do now. But we didn't really have that many black representative people
Mm.
in the nerd space, right? We were
Right.
there, and there'd be cosplayer to the left of me, cosplayer crafter to the right of me, a bunch of nerds, who are black bouncing around because MomoCon, as an example, is in Atlanta, which is a chocolate city, which by definition is going to draw a higher percentage of black and brown people than, say, PAX East in Boston, right? So so there's a lot built into the rub with MomoCon that allowed for a a more representative crowd of people, right? But you didn't have, like I said, there were no influencers. There were no podcasters. There were no streamers. This is pre Twitch. This is pre TikTok. This is pre Vine in a lot of cases, right? There's no Instagram. Facebook is really just kind of coming up. Twitter is kind of there, but it's not. It hasn't been monetized and weaponized the way it is now. So if you look around at like who are the ubiquitous people in the nerd space who have a
Mhm.
following, who are constantly putting black images in front of the community, it was Greg and Marcus with Tuskegee Airs. That was it. I mean, there was a lot of other folks out there, but they were right out there on front. They were on the cusp, right? And that combination put them right in front of me. So when I had an opportunity to, bring them in as guests, because remember the first 2 years of BlerDCon, I mean, it was a pretty heavy lift because you had to do two things at once. People were not using the term blurred at all in 2015. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
It's hard to think of now because it's everywhere. It's like popcorn. There's blurred this, blurred tacular, blurred tastic, blurred is everywhere now as a term. But in 2014, 2015, you say the word blurred and people look at you like you're a UFO, right? So to have a blurred con, I have to activate the blurred community to then from there let them know that there is a con for which they should be self-identifying as the audience for. But that was two lifts happening at once, right? There was no indigenous population of people just ready to burst out onto the scene. Oh, finally, someone has said the word blurred, and now we will make our pilgrimage, to the DC metro area. That was not it, man. I'm standing there at cons behind the table. I spend most of my time arguing with black people as to why a black nerd is something that they should self-identify as. Because you get the old argument like, well, why can't I just be a nerd? I'm like, you can be a nerd, but that's just between you and your Jesus. Like everybody else is looking at you as a black nerd. You can say you don't want to be African American, you just want to be American, but cops are not going to look at you as American if you just self-identify. Whatever you see yourself as is not the question. It's how you connect with people who share your background, culture, history, and experience, right? And that is the common ground that we didn't have. We were there. Black nerds have always been there. We didn't invent the community. The community came about because of the con and connected because of the con. You go to MomoCon, just say circa 2014, they probably would have had somewhere in the neighborhood of 35,000, which is a lot. Back then, they're like 67,000 now. There might be 5,000, 7,000 black people running around the Georgia World Congress Center in cosplay, nerding out. Like, that's a lot of black people for 2014 in one place where you can see them. Like, that's a lot, right? But they weren't doing meetups, and they weren't doing photo shoots, and they weren't doing panels, and they weren't doing after parties. We weren't represented in the backdrop of the conventions that we patronized. So to say, oh, blurs have always been there, one, they didn't identify as blurs and had to be kind of steered in that direction. Second, they wasn't activating as a community because we were just kind of looking at each other. Oh, look at this. Hey, how you doing? We didn't have the connective tissue at that point to have, online presence in a group, say like a POC cosplayers on Facebook, where we could post an ad for a Marvel meetup. All the black Marvel characters are going to meet up and we're going to take a photo with all the black people who are dressed up in One Piece or whatever. We didn't have even the platform to do that, right? We weren't activating those platforms yet, and now we are. So, the community was really in its nascent stage in a way we often forget now because it's so ubiquitous and there's so much black nerd energy and diversity energy and black and brown people in the backdrop of where everything that we do in the nerd space now. Like I said, being a nerd was still a negative thing back in 2014. It wasn't cool yet. It was getting cool, but you got to remember the MCU had really just started to break in 2013, 2014. Black Panther didn't come out till 2018. Right. So, this burgeoning that happened right around the same time as BlerDCon hit ground in 2017 was still 3 years prior, 2 years prior. We was at the grassroots digging in the dirt, So Marcus, circling back to that, Marcus was like one of those iconic people. And they were one of those folks that everybody knew his artwork and they knew who it was for. And they knew what it represented, and to have him come on board and pledge to represent the brand and the convention, not just with his artwork, but with his platform, and Greg as well, was a huge thing in 2018, 2019. People forget, again, there's so many black artists out there now and comic book artists and people who are doing so many amazing works that you might think, oh, well, it's always been that way. It was not. It was not. We was doing the finger guns to everybody because it was ones and twos when we go. You know what I mean? Right. So it really made a difference because we started at the grassroots. We didn't plan for 20,000 people year one. We didn't promote it as something that was going to have even 1,000 people. We planned our business model and our attendance model and our business structure and our budget around 600 people showing up on the first year of BlerDCon. And we ended up getting 1,800 on the first year of BlerDCon, which let me know that, the work was working, right? The second year, we had 3,600, literally double from year one to year two. The next year is 6,900, right? So we're redoubling from one year to the next. Year one, year two, year three. 2019 was our biggest year up until that point, and then we had COVID, and we were the first. We were the first convention to come back of any kind after COVID. And it wasn't even after COVID, it was the middle of COVID. But we were the first con that physically happened anywhere in the country during COVID when we came back. And we came back with a mask mandate. We came back with a vaccine mandate. All these super controversial things, you know, politically and socially. And people just scared. Like, you know, so one, people scared of dying. Then you got people scared of vaccines, and people don't want to wear masks and all this stuff that just works against a con. And we still had 4,500 people come back in 2020 for our fourth year, and that just, you know, just lets us know that momentum kept going, and it made a big difference. That groundswell and that community base with people like Marcus and Greg and others that just came from the grassroots has always worked for us, and it kind of defined the con.
That's what's up. And I did see the when you came back and you had the mandates and all that. And it's just like we still gonna have our fun. But you bring up, because I'm still branching out, because you're one of the few that I branched out of Georgia. So with, let's say for instance, Anime Week in Atlanta, that was my first con, and noticing that it was in a hotel, it grew, ended up going to the Georgia World Congress Center, which got me thinking like man, you know, I see BlerDCon, and it seems like it should be in the Chocolate City. Is there ever going to be, or like two or maybe one moving to Georgia as far as BlerDCon in the future?
I get this question all the time, and and I will tell you, it's not outside of the realm of possibility, but it is outside of the realm of probability and necessity. And here's why. BlerDCon, I think, benefits uniquely from the geolocation that it is in the DC metro area. Because even though a lot of us consider DC to be a chocolate city, a lot of us will clarify and specify that DC is like a chocolate city, but with a marshmallow interior, right? It's the dynamics of gentrification and Black community on top of Latino community on top of Asian community on top of white community has all the dynamics in it, even as a chocolate city, that the nation has, right? And because no one, you know, demographic is so prevalent and so dominant, you feel the energy around a BlerDCon differently in a space like this than you would, say, if we were to host it in Harlem. You know, I think that and I even said this in Harlem, and made it out after saying it to an audience at the Black Comic Book Festival. I was like, you know, Black people, especially Black nerds, in a place like Harlem are somewhat spoiled and privileged. And, you know, after a couple of minutes of gasping and pearl clutching, it was like, no, it's like, you are not alien to Black spaces here. You know what a Black bookstore looks like. You know what a Black restaurant looks like. You know what a Black church looks like. You know what a Black owned business, Black schools, Black neighborhoods, Black block, you know, all of this stuff. If you're living in the Harlem area or a lot of places in New York, you know, your Black experience is around you all the time. You don't have to do extra work to engage Black culture. People who are from other parts of the country don't necessarily have that same experience as Black people. The African American experience is different in Nebraska than in Harlem, than in Chicago, than in Roanoke, Virginia, than in Sanford, North Carolina. You know what I mean? But all Black people coming into one space are experiencing this Black space that is BlerDCon from their own perspective. And they're all receiving different things. They're all moving forward in the same direction, but from different points. So somebody coming, like I said, from a New York or Chicago or an Atlanta, seeing 15,000 black people in cosplay, bouncing around, it's lovely. They love it. It's a great experience, but they're not shocked. They're not overwhelmed by it. They're used to seeing large groups of black people doing a wide variety of things because of where they're from. But somebody coming from Ames, Iowa might not have ever seen 500 black people of any kind in any place gathered at one place for any reason. And to see that many black people that are also a member of their blerd tribe all in one place is a completely different experience than my Chocolate City homeboys and homegirls coming into the same space, right? So I say that to say that if BlerDCon were to go to, say, in Atlanta, it couldn't be the BlerDCon that you have here in DC. It would have to be a BlerDCon that is relevant and resonant to the black experience as it happens in Atlanta. Atlanta has a different need for its black people. It has a different market for its black people than DC does, right? Even if you're coming from Atlanta to DC, that geography and the people coming into that space are having a different experience. And if we were to put all those exact same components together in New York or in Chicago or in Atlanta or anywhere else. So that would be the real lift, finding something that has a resonant need already built in and that's not already been done, listen, black owned cons have failed in Atlanta, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't just assume because there's millions and millions of black people within a 50-mile radius of Peachtree Center that there's automatically this audience of thousands of black people who are just like, finally, like we're gonna come to this place and do this thing. So you do have to come at it soberly and figure out what does that audience want. And if there is a need and there's an opportunity, I love activating in other spaces. You know me, we don't just come and set up a table and sit behind it at these other cons. We got a DJ, we got video games, we got cosplayers. We're bringing the party wherever we go. So, doing it is not out of the question. Just need to find out if it's necessary and find out if it's probable. And who knows, you might see us around. So keep an eye out.
I'm definitely, because I mean, obviously, I know you can see it. I know you can see it. It's not something that's just like, I don't know, but it's just one of those situations where I'm like, it's going to continue to grow. And what I've seen at other places, I'm just like, okay, but it's within that city. So, might be two, which would seem right, but I digress. Now, me going there and experiencing this and you being the one to create this safe space for so many. I'm curious to know what is or was your safe space before this.
I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I don't know that as it is defined by BlerDCon, I don't know that I had one before BlerDCon. And I don't think I'm unique in that way. We are a people, and I said this on the stage, so anyone who saw the closing ceremonies or opening ceremonies, I apologize for repeating myself, but one of the unique things about the black community, and by extension, the black nerd community, that makes us unique and special is that we are almost always forced to create and generate our own safe spaces, even when it's carved out of spaces that are definedly unsafe for us, right? So if you think about, Tulsa, Oklahoma, you think about, Rosewood, you think about all these places where they started off as ghettos and we're like, hey, we ain't asked to be here. But then we turned around and we supported one another and we said, well, we're going to if we got to be here and we got to be together, then we're going to make this our space. We're going to make it for us, by us. And we had to carve that out of these hostile spaces. And if we weren't forced together to have to take that on collectively to generate a safe space. Ones and twos of us peppered here and there often aren't in a position to do that. And I was often that black kid that was peppered in to spaces where I was not the majority or even widely represented in the places in which I lived and resided. So if you want to think about the safe spaces that I had to create for myself, it was in these worlds of fantasy, playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? I'm sitting in a circle of people. I'm the only black person, so I'm already freaking people out. Like, black people play Dungeons and Dragons. Like, so I gotta go through that with every new white person that comes in to drop in on the module. But then once they get past that, well, hey, you're an orc, I'm an elf, he's an ogre. What? Like we're interacting through this fantasy world and these proxy characters that are separate from ourselves. In the same way that in cosplay, you're representing the character that you are wearing. Somebody sees you in a Deadpool cosplay, they don't call you Carnell. They yell Deadpool, and you turn and you respond to that. So you have this protective, wall that stands between you and the world in front of you. Even when the world in front of you is hostile, that becomes your safe space, right? Falling into the fantasy world of a comic book or an anime, music, art, those are the ways in which we as individuals create safe spaces. And I think that the challenge with that and what that poses is that so many of us think that our safe spaces are only in here. And so when someone starts talking to us about safe spaces, we act like white people. Well, safe spaces, that woke stuff. Yeah, safe. Yeah, beatnik, shut up. We don't even know what it is because we've spent so much time having to be our own safe space in our basement. With our PlayStations, you can't see it. And my video gaming chair, you can't see it. My cosplay helmets and stuff. This is my basement. Right? This is my safe space no matter what's going on out in the world. So when you tell me I got to get on a bus or a train or a plane or the back of somebody's car and ride up to DC to be around a whole bunch of black people and it's going to be this and it's going to be that, I might not have any frame of reference to even there's no shelving in my psyche for that conversation because I've never seen that. And that's when you see somebody at BlerDCon who's completely overwhelmed. And I see it every year. I see people who are breaking down, like crying, emotional, just because they've never felt comfortable. Our discomfort is often our cruising altitude through this country and this life. And we never really get the opportunity to feel comfortable. And then you come into a space like BlerDCon and everybody is just high-fiving and pointing and it's love and you're not navigating microaggressions and people looking at you crazy because you're the black Deadpool or the black Lord Raiden or the black, Wonder Woman. You're just you. And they're looking at the quality of your creation and admiring it and admiring you. And there's just this connectivity that you may not have ever felt. And so that generate. I mean, I would put this in if you were to ask me this question 5 minutes ago, knowing what I've already said, what I would have said in retrospect to answer this more directly is that we often look at the spaces in which we are in as a combative, hostile relationship and do not necessarily understand that safe spaces do exist. And we don't understand how we could feel comfortable and feel seen and feel connected when we've never felt those things before. And then you come into a space for the first time and you see it and it's exercising a whole new muscle. It's activating a whole new part of the brain. And that's why you see, and even though you've only been to BlerDCon the one time, people who religiously come back to the con year after year after year after year. I'm going back. They don't care about the guests. They don't care about the date. They don't care. Well, they care a little bit about ticket prices, but the logistics and stuff like that. But it's not a question of, I'm just waiting to see if they get some more voice actors this year. Or, I'm kind of wondering, if they, no, they're like, my people are there. I got to go be with my people. And that opportunity is something that we have not had until very, very, very recently. And we were kind of the first to really capture the that in its totality, and we take it very seriously because I made this con for me. I don't know if you know that. I made the con I wanted to attend. I
Okay.
didn't make a convention based off of market research and what other cons, structures and all. I was just like at the core, I'm like, what would I enjoy in a convention if I could shape and mold a convention based off of my ideal experience. And that's where the core of it came. And everybody's enjoying the convention that was built not just by me but by my team over time by the community, but at its core it's the con that I wanted to attend, and I haven't seen anything that quite replicates it in spirit and form yet, and that lets me know that we're on to something. So
I like it. I like it. Like, and you say it, it sounds like the artist. I can't call one off the top right now. It's just like I make music that I want to hear. Um, and I kid you not, when you mentioned the whole train plane situation, I don't know if it was probably after I bought the ticket, I started considering like do I really need to go? Because I'm really a introvert, so the situation wasn't. They're like, oh, I'm going on vacation. Like I love what I do. I love going to conventions, meeting the people, talking to them, but I wasn't able to click the switch right off, and so it's just like
yeah.
so. But I'm glad I came. Now, what was the what was I was curious about you mentioned Deadpool. I've seen you rock Deadpool here and there, and I wasn't sure if that is that one of your favorite characters, if not your favorite character.
And if I can get my hand around it, yeah, it is and was.
Nice, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a, and the reason why, there's a couple of reasons, but from a strictly cosplay perspective, there's a reason why I don't cosplay Deadpool anymore. Because Canon came along and took all the fun out of it. Before the movie, Deadpool had so many variants in all the comics that you could almost do anything with the Deadpool, character from a creative perspective and make it your own.
Hmm.
But when Ryan Reynolds kind of cemented the Deadpool that we all know and love so well, it kind of like, yeah, I mean, you don't even see any Deadpools anymore. I mean, be honest. Like, there's people who might throw the mask on or something like that, just kind of do it as a side cosplay. But there's nobody
Hmm.
like doing Deadpool anymore because the movies just made it all standard and everybody's buying the suit and you can buy them everywhere now. And people are not having as much fun with it. And I had like 5, 6 different kinds of Deadpools. I had a Spartan Deadpool. I had a One Punch Man Deadpool. One pool. I, I had one, for almost every iteration, and I was having a lot of fun with it for a while. But also now that I'm a con runner, I
Hmm.
can't interact in the con space in cosplay and talk business. Nobody wants to interview Deadpool if they want to talk about BlerDCon. I'm gonna have to take the Deadpool off because it's like, yeah, Deadpool's great, but he won't get out of character. He won't stop making jokes. We wanted to talk. Is Hilton in there? Can we?
We gotta
Is
talk
Hilton
business.
right? And there's always business and stuff like that. So I don't get the opportunity to do the cosplay game that I used to do, which I love so well. But I was the best Deadpool cosplayer ever, by the way. So if you ever
Nice,
talk to anyone who remembers my Deadpool days, they'll be like, he was that
nice, nice.
good. So
I gotta send you the link. I don't know if you see it was we did this like years ago. We did a fan film, and it was a Deadpool Black Panther team up. I was actually Black Panther, partner of mine, he was Deadpool. We're both black actors portraying these characters. Um, but shoot, what was you getting out of character? Like when you did the opening ceremony, because I didn't see the closing, but you coming in with this. this Barack Obama, Richard Pryor. Because was it Richard Pryor with the mustache? Was that where that came from?
I deliberately will always deliberately go for AP cosplay, right? This is advanced placement college prep cosplay. It is not going to be something right in your face. So not last year, but the year before, I came out in 2024, and there was a scene. Did you watch the show Atlanta?
Yes.
So you remember the episode where the white kid, the black kid passing for white was trying to
Right.
get that black scholarship and all that stuff. And then who comes up on the stage giving the scholarship at the school?
Was it
Remember?
DC? No, not
No.
DC. Shoot. The
Kevin
other comedian.
Samuels.
Oh, the right. With the glass. Right. Okay.
And that threw everybody off because he like died the day before or something like that. It was crazy.
Right.
And for him to just make this weird cameo in the film was just really impactful, and I really love the show. So I came out in the Kevin Samuels, robe and everything, and you got me heading for a breakdown from Loose Ends opener coming out and everything, and about 15 people out of 1,000 folks sitting in the audience got it, and I heard them. And I even saw some people post about it, like, kudos, that was a deep cut. That guy, he was doing that one scene from that one episode of that show, and everybody wasn't really watching. A lot of people ain't up on Atlanta. It's still a great show. You need to watch it. And this one that I just
Yeah.
did was from the Key and Peele skit of Black Republicans. So if you go on Google, go on YouTube, put in Black Republicans, Key and Peele, whatever, and it's just there's like 3 or 4 skits that they did with these Black Republicans having this meeting, and they're all wearing the dad jackets and the glasses and the mustaches and the dad jeans and everything. And so if you look at it and then look at my opener, you're gonna be, oh, he was spot on. But if you hadn't seen that, or if you weren't aware of that, people thought I was doing Barack Obama or doing Richard Pryor or something like that. So not getting it is not a gig against you. Okay, it's not a dig that you didn't get it. Nah, you guys aren't paying attention. I don't. That was not what I was. I knew 80% of the audience was gonna be like, "What the hell is he doing?" But I was going for that one line of people that were gonna get it and go, I see what you did there. That joke, I got it. So yeah, so that's what I did. I was doing the Black Republican. We are not a monolith.
Right.
We're very diverse, and that's I put that together, a little day cosplay, and put the script on, and ran out there and did the opening.
I did enjoy that opening. That was hot. Dang, because I haven't I've seen episodes here and there of Key and Peele, but I haven't seen a lot. I'm not a big comedy guy, but
See,
Dave
but see,
Chappelle.
that's where most of us are. And as a matter of fact, and I am digressing, but it's a good time to do it. My conversations with Carl Jones were around the fact that he had been to DreamCon, I think, twice. And I'd seen him at DreamCon at least twice. And we have a booth at DreamCon typically where we're promoting BlerDCon, engaging the community and everything. And, we were talking back and forth, and he was like, so how's BlerDCon different from DreamCon? And I said, well, for you specifically, we trend a little older. So, if I don't think there was 50 people at DreamCon over 35. Let's being honest, it's a younger crowd. I said, so the Boondocks, most of these kids had only seen Boondocks in memes or seen clips, on TikTok and stuff. They hadn't like sit down and watched like the whole season to know who the characters were or the context of the jokes. They recognized the faces, the little one-liners and stuff that were coming through the medium that they knew. But they might have been like 12, 8 years old, too young to be watching, Boondocks. So they see you and they know who you are and they know where you're from, but the connection isn't quite there the same way. BlerDCon trends between 5 and 10 years older as far as the average crowd age. And I said, those folks are going to know everything about you. They're gonna know all your work. There's gonna be people out there talking about your Black Dynamite work. They're gonna be talking about like Mushmouth. They're gonna be talking about all of that stuff. And he's like, oh, okay. And when he came, that's exactly what happened. Like people were just super, super fans of all of his work because he was more contemporary with their experience.
Mm,
And so Key and Peele's the same way. They came out like Key and Peele came out after Dave Chappelle disappeared
mm.
and went to Africa. So if you think about how long ago that was for them to be at their peak, and then I'm going to sit in front of a 25-year-old and make a joke reference for something that they was 14 when it came on the show they weren't watching. Like, you know, just be. I like being realistic for that. I play to the cheap seats, so and that's
Man,
the fun.
man. Okay, okay. Now, what was with safe spaces and everything? Just remembering that you mentioned that Zazzie's first con experience. What was her in experience? Did you? I mean, I'm sure you had a conversation prior to departing, but how does she feel about that?
Oh, listen, this was a unique, even more unique than having Janelle Monáe. Janelle Monáe
Mm,
came as her own brand, right? Wonderland is her artist collective, creative space where she can bring in and collaborate with other artists, doing everything from music to poetry, events, and in this case for her, a graphic novel comic book that she was debuting, but it was all her and her people. And so, you kind of, I'm dealing with Janelle, I'm dealing with Janelle's lawyer, I'm dealing with Janelle's manager, I'm dealing with Janelle's agent, assistant, and this, so I'm actually dealing with people that are focused on her and what she wants. And she had a great time. Zazie was there with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is like, we are bringing these components together for this one mission, and then we're going to disperse. So we have the studio's interests in mind, and the choreography and budget and movement and timing is all happening in LA. And they're superimposing it over BlerDCon. So we
hmm.
didn't have that much creative control over the conversations about things like she didn't stay in the host hotel. She stayed like 2 miles away, at another hotel because on paper, that's what the studio thought would be appropriate. And they never considered like, yeah, but we've got like a whole super VIP condo suite at the Hyatt that she could stay in. That elevator goes straight to it, and everything should be more than safe. It's as big as a condo. It'd be great, but just the idea of staying in the host hotel was just like, oh my God, no, you can't do that because that's LA. They don't really know. So it was a lot of different moving parts with it, and I was concerned that like how is the experience going to be affected by all of these different moving parts that we have to adhere to because it's a studio and it's not her and her people and whatever. And she came, she saw the audience, she met with the people, she did a lot of engagement, a lot of interviews. She saw the space and had such a good time that she went to eat after, doing all of her engagement stuff, and then came back and we kind of gave her a mask and some civilian clothes to wear. And she spent about 2 hours hanging out at the con with her younger brother who was with her, who's a real, like a super, super blurred and was having a ball. And she had a blast. She loved it. Now, again, Janelle had the opportunity and the option to be like, oh, I'm loving this. I'm just going to stay. I'm just going to extend my stay
Hmm.
another 2 days. I'm not just going to fly out on Saturday night. I'm going to fly out, Sunday afternoon because I had that purvey. She didn't really have any control over her schedule enough to stay extra time or do anything seriously off the clock, according to Warner Brothers. But what flexibility she did have, she made sure to spend it at the con. And when you don't have to do that, you don't do that. So she had a
Right,
blast. It was really great, and I'm hoping that we get to have her come back around again.
right, right. That yeah, yeah. When you mentioned, I don't even I like because I was looking at the opening ceremony prior to, and I'm trying to remember if I remembered you saying about her booth with the blood and stuff, and I was just like, I could have got some blood on me.
You
Um,
could have got
it
some blood. She went and got that for herself. Like I almost didn't recognize. You find if you coming up with a slash on your face, I don't even see it. Like I didn't even realize she had got one of a blood and makeup slash on the side of her face at the station. That was the
mhm.
activation for the movie. Until I watched the video, I was like, she had that slash on the side of her face that whole time. I didn't see it. I'm like, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. So yeah, she got into it. She had a good time, man.
That's what's up. What was with the I think there was like 16 minutes of
Oh
exclusive footage.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so Warner Brothers was not, and we fought for this. We were trying hard. They were not going to do a screening, like a full screening
okay,
of the movie. BlerDCon for the last 4, maybe 5 years, has had the opportunity to do an early screening of some upcoming movie at Alamo Drafthouse up the street.
nice.
This year we did Project Hail Mary, which was an amazing movie, an amazing activation with Amazon
Amazon.
MGM. They really it was amazing what they did. But we were also looking to see if we get They Will Kill You, but it was just a little too early, and we happened to be the week before South by Southwest. And they wanted to save their premiere for South by Southwest, but what they did do is say, hey, look, we're going to put together this teaser 18-minute opener
Mm,
of the movie. We're going to edit it down. It's going to be just for BlerDCon. And we turned all the lights off, turned the sound up, and 18 minutes of the opener of that movie, man, just had everybody on the edge of their seats, people screaming and cussing at the screen. And I mean, it was amazing. So if you haven't seen They Will Kill You, you need to go see it in theaters. It's amazing.
I'm really excited.
And so it was an exclusive 18-minute pre-screener of the movie, and it was really really good. If I'm sitting in the audience, and black people, we talk to the screen and we talk to each other.
This is true.
So it was a lot of reaction, and a lot of folks really got into it. And I was like, yeah, listen, we're not going to just cape for you if the movie's booty. But
Mm,
that really did that captured a lot of people, and we're hoping to have Warner Brothers back on as a partner and a sponsor again for 2027 because they're always making stuff. Same thing for MGM. Come on back, family. We'll do it.
nice, nice. Oh, so you seen the whole movie?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, okay. So I haven't seen it yet. I was trying to see it earlier this week.
Don't I want to don't want to spoil it. I'm not spoiling nothing.
Right. Oh, but
Check your time and just go see it, man. That's just have to do it.
okay, it's a destroyer because like seeing the trailer, I feel like I don't I don't know if it's the directors um who made this call, but when she's fighting and I think she's fighting in her underclothes, it felt like it was a nod to the Street Fighter 2 movie with Chun Li fighting Vega.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, I think there might be some of that. I think the parallel the studio put forward was Kill Bill in the fight between Uma
Hmm.
Thurman and who's my girl's name? Oh, I'm looking right at her. Brand just
Uh, um,
anyway. The
Liu,
Yeah, who?
Liu,
No, no, no. The
Lucy.
first fight, the sister girl,
Oh, Vivica.
Vivica A.
A.
Fox.
Fox.
Yes, that was really the parallel that they were running because it's just so knocked down, drag out, and in a house, furniture flying everywhere. And I think the director was kind of had that more in mind.
Mm,
And yeah, a lot of
that's a
comparisons and
good point.
parallels to the fight scenes can be made there too.
Nice. Okay. I gotta see that. I gotta see that. Um, now, I had to do some reading because one of those like when you see a video and it's just like, oh man, and again I'm not the type to initially like lead with emotion, so I did some reading. So the question is, like, there were some people there they videoed, and from my understanding they were people that were already staying at the hotel because I didn't even know about it until Tony posted this the video
Mm.
about it. It's like, like, oh, what they filming, and it's like they didn't infiltrate anything; they were already there. What was your take on that when you heard that?
Well, it's unfortunate because whatever it is that they were doing. So let's. There's two tracks in my mind for this. On one hand, it's unfortunate that those kinds of people would even want to come into a space like that,
Mm,
and sneak in and, not really sure how they got in. Did they take the service elevator or whatever? But it is a shame that there are folks that have that mindset of like, oh, let's go into this space that is of these people with this harmonious energy,
mhm.
and let's disrupt it. So boom, that's that over here. On the other side, I was very encouraged. I was borderline happy because even though those people made it into the space somehow and had some disparaging things to say, and I don't know how long they were there, and I don't know how much they said and to who, but it didn't affect the vibe. Because,
Right,
see, this is a video that someone took of them in a very narrow window where they were obviously leaving,
right,
right? And in the leaving, they were saying things to people, and the vibe was so strong and the place was so secure that nobody really even made a funk about it. I didn't even really hear about it until Tony showed the video, right? This didn't show up in the survey. This isn't something that got emailed and reported. Nobody sent us the clip to say, hey, look what happened, blah, blah, blah. It's obviously these people probably like took the elevator all the way down to the bottom floor, looked around and was like, this ain't really for us. And then kind of, smart mouth their way up the two escalators into the lobby and out. So the window of time they were probably there wasn't very long. But it gives me encouragement because we talk about safe spaces, and people feel like safe spaces are safe in a way because they are sequestered, and there is a border, and then there's a guard, and there's gatekeeping, literally gatekeeping of keeping certain people out to protect certain people who are in, right? In my mind, the safest space to be in is not just among your brother and sister in the blurred space, but even within your own heart and your own mind, right? Think about this. If you went to Ghana and a white person was running around yelling nigger around in Ghana,
mm,
the people are just like, is this guy on drugs? Like, this guy is irrelevant. He means nothing. He affects nothing. I've got stuff to do. You know, we don't have that luxury typically in this country as African Americans. But for some reason in this space, no one seemed to be directly hurt by these people presence, doing the things that they're doing and saying the things that they said, And I'm like, is the bond between us in our space, in our time, in our moment strong enough that even if somebody comes into that space and tries to disrupt that energy, they fail? Like, I would never test that. I would never want to test that. But the fact that it was tested and that was the result, let me know that the community is doing its job. The con is doing its
mhm.
job. The structure and the connection of 10 years of black nerds coming together in what is loosely described every year by everyone as a family reunion made these people, as bad as they are, irrelevant to the vibe, irrelevant to the people, and irrelevant to the con experience for like 99.995% of the people who were there. That's what I want people to have. Now, why is that important to me? Because BlerDCon's got 15,000 people sitting in a quarter-mile radius for 4 days. 90% of the people who are leaving out of BlerDCon on Sunday and Monday are not leaving BlerDCon to go to another safe black space. They're going back to be the only black person at their job, or one of the few black people in their neighborhoods, or the other, even within their own family, or even in their own neighborhood, even if it's black, because black nerds often get the same kind of pushback from the Black community as we do from other communities, right?
Mm.
So we getting ready to go leave from BlerDCon, go back on our island of 1 or 2 or 3 for the next 360 days before the next BlerDCon. I want to know that you are able to take that strength, take that power, take that fortification that comes with being amongst your people for that long and that kind of engagement, so that when you go back to Nebraska or you go back to Iowa or you go back to, rural Virginia or North Carolina or somewhere where it's not a chocolate city and it's not a safe space, but you're girded, you're guarded, you're fortified because of where you've been and who you've been around and the energy and the interactions and the individuals that you have been around. And it kind of points to that. And that's what I want BlerDCon to do. I want BlerDCon to be a community both at BlerDCon proper and when people go back home, because that's where it matters the most, right? It's easy to be Black and be proud and be secure and have fun and all that when there's thousands and thousands of people who look like you, dress like you, and are part of your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that do to you when you go out of these spaces into places that aren't as secure, aren't as safe, and are not as connected, and you're not as well accepted or appreciated, or encouraged? And I think that we're going to be all right. I think we're going to be all right.
Gotta do that whole code switching action on the way up. Now, you mentioned before. I'm curious about the. There was a time. Was there like a time where you kind of stopped? How to phrase it? Like being a part of the fandom. Was that the case? Because like I think you mentioned that like there was a block of time where like you were in it, and then for whatever reason you were gone, and then you came back. What was that like?
Right. Well, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. We've got a conversation to have in-house as Black people, and we're behind the curve to our white brothers and sisters and our Asian brothers and sisters and their families and their communities when it comes down to the weirdos in our own home. Our history with this country, if your parents went through the civil rights, era like mine did, if your grandparents or members of your community and the structure of the communities that are built around you, your family, your school, your job, and all that are part of that framework, standing out as a Black person is not seen as a universal good thing, especially growing up, right? I mean, obviously, being a nerd means that you have to give up your cool card, right? That's if I'm going to play Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering instead of talking to girls and all this stuff, I know here. Come on, take my nerd, my cool card. I'm not going to prom. Let me go ahead and get these up lifes and do my thing, right? And everybody knows that. There's, whatever. But it's only the Black community that makes you give up your Black card, too. Because not only is nerd stuff considered to be nerdy and awkward and weird, and why are you doing that, and ew, those people, it's also, for some quadrants of our community, seen as akin to whiteness. We can't play Dungeons and Dragons because you're going to summon demons. So you got to put that away. You can't cosplay because cosplay make you one of them homosexuals. So you can't be dressing up and wearing wigs and stuff like that because that'll make you gay. Whatever the stigma is that's attached to the nerd fandom and the way in which you interact with it, that's still part of who we are as a country. That's who we are as a people. And we've got work to do, right? So I'm a lifelong nerd. Like I was playing Dungeons and Dragons in the 3rd grade, right? Okay. I learned to read off of comic books. That's why I have this amazing vocabulary, right? Because one of my favorite characters is Reed Richards, right? So I'm reading words all the time from age like 7 to 22, right? But then you go out of high school and you go into the Army. There's no nerd spaces in the Army. There is now, but there wasn't then. Right. You're regimented. You're running. Everybody's dressing the same. Everybody's going the same place, doing the same thing. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Who's got dice? Who's got modules? How can I identify any nerds in my midst by which to gather and talk about comic books or talk about Dungeons and Dragons or talk about anime, which in the 90s was not ubiquitous and around us and everywhere we go, right? You had to work hard to get access to anime in the 90s, right? If it wasn't one of the four shows that was on TV, because it's pre Dragon Ball, pre, Toonami, right? So your anime resume, depending on what videotapes your cousin in the Navy would send to you,
Mm.
undubbed, unsubbed. You don't know what the hell's going on. This is a bunch of people running around screaming and yelling at each other. The first time I saw Akira, I didn't know what the hell was going on because it wasn't subbed. It wasn't dubbed. It was them screaming in Japanese. And can you imagine watching Akira with no subtitles? You're just like, that guy's turned into a monster. That guy is, you know. So I'm saying all that to say that I grew up into this new space, and the Army tears you down, builds you up, and you come out a different person. And then I got cool, and girls started liking me. It's a whole new world,
Mhm.
right? I was bucktooth and acne prone, and I weighed 132 pounds and 6 feet tall. There were no girls talking to me. I come out the Army, and all of a sudden, girls got something to say. Well, now my time is being occupied, right? I got a whole new mission, and then that's a whole new world, you know. And then I come out of the Army, and I go into, working my way into college, and I'm a cool kid now.
Mhm.
Like, I was the guy in college that I am right now. Like this thing here was me in college. I used to jokingly, before it was taboo to say, very recently taboo to say, I was a low budget puff daddy in college. I was throwing every after party. I was doing, the homecoming, and I was making homecomings for other campuses.
Mm.
And I mean, I was just doing the whole party promotion, events promotion thing while I was in college. So I was a somewhat of a semi celebrity, I guess you would call it, whatever that means, going through college. And I lost track. A lot of who I was left kind of in the background because I was so busy being this other person, which was me and still is, but it was just kind of like a different phase. And
Mm.
there was no anime club at North Carolina Central University. There was no, video gaming, groups and hanging out, when I was in school. There was no nerd clubs, none of that stuff, so you're reacting to the environment around you. And that kind of got lost in the sauce. And then when I got into my job and I was working in, a lot of the tech fields in education, I found myself in nerd spaces, but they were mainly tech spaces. And I started kind of brushing up against the nerd spaces for the first time. And I was like, oh, wow, look at these places. Like, oh, wait, there's cons and stuff. And then one day I just started costuming. It just came out of me. I guess I just burst. And I was costuming mainly around Halloween. Halloween was my holiday for years. I was
Mhm.
always that guy that just went too far every year. Like, everybody, hey, there's 8 people getting together. We're going to do a theme. We're doing Star Trek. Okay, cool. And here I come. And I done made a tricorder. I done shaved my eyebrows so I can be a Vulcan. I done ordered like and like legit actual movie and television show accurate. So when I show up out in front of the club, everybody's like, "Oh, this guy, he always going too far." And I was doing so much costuming that somebody came up to me one day and said, "Hey, do you go to any cons? Do you cosplay?" I was like, "What?" And they ran down all the names of all the cons that were in the area. And if you're the way the algorithm works, if you're not already connected to that, you're not going to get notices for MagFest and KatsuCon and Otakon and all these conventions happening around. And he wrote them down on a cocktail napkin. I went home, looked them up, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can do this other times of the year." And then I just started going to cons. And for like 2.5, 3 years, I was cosplaying, and the rest is history.
Okay. I seen some of your. Well, I don't even know if it was, or maybe I just didn't know the character. But like when we met, you had it. You were dressed up, but it didn't look like you were like a particular, because it might have been niche, and I just didn't know because it's niche. 'Cause I'm not in the know.
Oh,
Uh,
listen, all my cosplayers are like over here in a bin, or and I've got my Negan cosplay, my Negan Deadpool cosplay. I got my Lord Raiden. I did Hooded Justice. I did a Hooded Justice one. I was really proud of that. When the new Watchmen came out,
Mm.
like with Regina Hall,
Right.
with that rewrite, that retcon. Very proud of that. And I do the niche ones. Like I walk around in Hooded Justice, and 1 out of 20 people know who the hell I am, and I love that because the people who know, they're like, "Oh my god," But so yeah, I cosplay when I can, but I nothing like what I used to. Like, people didn't even see my face. People didn't see my face till 2015. Like, I was always in cosplay. I come out the room in cosplay. I go back to the room in cosplay. And I didn't know it was like this big mystery. People are like, oh, we got to see if we can find and see his face. I just like, oh, I didn't know y'all cared about. I wasn't hiding. It's just my cosplays just happened to cover most of my face, so I didn't think I had to
Right.
show myself.
Like it's
So
me.
yeah.
That's what's up. Now the when you revealed, I don't know, was it the I guess it was at the ending, but I caught the video and it got me wondering. I'm just like, please, unless if you're taking requests, like you have
Oh.
the wrestling theme. I got to know where that came from. But in my head, I'm thinking like is he bringing Jay Cargill or maybe Sasha? She doesn't go by Sasha Banks anymore, but she's a. I was just like I don't know. I really hope so. Um,
Listen. No, go. I'll let you finish your
what no,
question. But
what's the because it seemed like you got the Freaknik this year, which was like, man, I just wasn't old enough to go. I'm in the state, but um the WrestleMania, where did that come from?
so BlerDCon themes are fairly unique, and there'll be other cons that say, yeah, we do themes too, but they don't. Their themes are very low key. They're just kind of off to the side. It's not really something that you see in the marketing. It doesn't change their banners. It's not on their webpage. Doesn't really change, how they activate the con.
Hmm.
Meaning that they don't their guest list and their activities don't necessarily get changed from one year to the next. So it's just kind of like a internal high five thing. We have a front facing full out theme from one year to the next, right? And we have a choice every year. The two choices tend to fall between these two categories. Either we are bringing a black trope into the nerd space, right? So something that is undeniably and unequivocally part of the black experience being integrated into a nerd convention. So Chocolate City 2021, prime
Mm.
example, right? The Reunion 2018, prime example. Uh, Geeknik, Freaknik, Geeknik, you know, that bringing of the blackness and superimposing it over the nerd space, right? But then there's also fandoms to which we have a huge amount of penetration and a huge presence that we are not often recognized for. And tapping into that is one of the opportunities that we take sometimes with the theme. And we did it with Fade to Black. The fact that black people are in the Fade community and rarely recognized and rarely appreciated. Boom, that's internal nerd exposition out as a theme. Wrestling is just as big as any. There's a huge wrestling fandom hidden and just under the surface in the Blerdscape. And everybody's got favorites and belts and have been following these guys for decades. And it's like in the DNA almost to the point where even the fans don't necessarily feel like they need to say, okay, I'm a wrestling fandom person, so I'm only going to do wrestling fandom cosplays. There's a lot of diehard wrestling fans that don't even cosplay wrestling fandom stuff at cons, but when you say you got a wrestling theme, everybody loses their collective shit because it just hits them right there in their 23 and me. I don't have to make it up. I don't have to explain it. If I got to explain a theme, it shouldn't be a theme. If I got to break it down in order to get it digestible, it's not good. When we did Thriller, I didn't have to explain Thriller. I didn't have to say
Mm,
nothing. I didn't have to say nothing about Thriller. It didn't know what part of whatever part of Thriller you bit into, either was Michael Jackson or horror or whatever part of that whole presentation got you, it had you. And you didn't have to say nothing else. People was making their cosplays in their mind before the intro finished rolling when I did the rollout at the end of the con. I said Thriller. People collectively lost their shit for a better part of a year, and came and brought it on their own. And the same thing's going to happen with this wrestling theme, Slam. The unique thing about this fandom is that it penetrates all the way down to the grassroots. So if you think about any fandom, right? Music. Let's just think about music. Is or celebrity stars who are Star Trek, Star Wars. You have the IP. You have the stars that are a part of the casting of the IP, and then there's everybody else, and nothing in between. Right? Wrestling is like WWE, AEW, regional, association that most people have never heard of unless you're in it. District, local. There's so many belts, there's so many titles, there's so many wrestlers that have actual names who actually jump off of the ropes on top of other people, in their spare time, because that's how the fandom is so active. It's not passive. Like, there's people that just like, oh, I'm a wrestler. You may not have heard of me because I'm in, St. Charles County, but I'm the St. Charles County heavyweight champion, and I'm black, and I can't wait for BlerDCon's theme, right? So we got to find a way to include and activate and create a space for all of these maniacs to get out there and do their thing, because they're going to be more active than any of the fandoms that I think we've ever reached out to and that we've ever touched with a theme at BlerDCon. And so that's where the work is. And yes, I do want to get a big name. I have been on the call with everybody. But I do know that we're probably going to have to swing big for maybe one or two big names, and then create space for, it might be dozens of more grassroots
right.
celebrities, because if you're the St. Charles, as an example, and I don't even know if this is real, but like if you're the St. Charles County, heavyweight champion, you probably got like 500 people that are your fans coming from you, right? So if we bring you in, you're a star in a way. We're gonna have to, accommodate you. But now I'm gonna have to do that 30 more times, because there's probably like a wrestling association and a champ or a participant or a wrestler that's got a belt of some sort in every other county within 150 miles of the BlerDCon home base. So we've got to find a way to activate them in a way that we probably haven't had to consider for any of the other fandoms. And it's super exciting because this is the one fandom that we haven't had to bridge the gap, right? People were excited about Thriller, but then they had to go make a cosplay, or they had to do some choreography training so they could do their flash mobs, or they had to, like, I'm going to go do this to represent my fandom for Michael Jackson or my fandom for horror. I'm going to do this because of the fan. Wrestling folks are like, my belt right here. Like, people were in the audience with their belts, just like, oh yeah, look, I'm already there, Hilton. I'll see you in a year, right? No preparation needed. I got my leotards in the car. I'll see you in March, right? So it's gonna be really exciting, man, and we're gonna rise to meet the moment, both with the stars, guests, and the events. This was the biggest BlerDCon that we've ever had from an attendance perspective. From a participation perspective, from a scope, scale, and footprint perspective. And this year coming up is going to be even bigger. And so if you got something up your sleeve, man, you better get ready for it now, because get your PTO so you can spend the whole weekend with us.
Right. Yeah. I'm making preparation. Because I didn't even think it's funny.
Preparation H. Wait, no, that's not right. You're not. I said that wrong. This is Holly in preparation. We'll figure something. We'll smith that. We'll.
That's funny. What was I thinking? Because I got a wrestler buddy and we were trying to go to a couple of wrestling cons, and I was asking like, "Hey, are you going to this?" And it didn't even. I don't even know why I didn't think about it until now. Um, that he needs to come to this one. I don't know if you know Trevor Eon, because it's spelled with an A, but it's pronounced with a Eon because it's
Well,
Trevor.
I have to admit, I am not always the most up on the fandoms that we activate,
Mm,
and so I am taking my cues from the community and from the
okay.
members of my team who are active as to who we might need to consider this way and that. But yes, absolutely, there's going to be a lot of those kind of fans, and we're excited to see it. 'Cause like I said, there's going to be a lot of belts strapped on people's shoulders.
Right.
It's going to be so dope, man. The meetups are going to be insane. It's not going to make any
I
sense. I'm excited.
I've already because I was thinking because I thought I was gonna have my wife and I we were gonna cosplay as John Cena and Bella which Bella? I forget her name at the moment, but the part of the Bella twins. Remember when they
Mm.
used to date? Um, but the yeah, I'm excited. You already because I was starting to think about the themes and if you did a because you know martial arts was so big in the and still is big in the black community. I like something maybe in the future. You know, I see it. But
There's an infinite pool of fandoms like that have not been represented, but have deep meaning to the black community and the black nerd community. There's black tropes that have yet to be activated. And let's just to be clear, for
mm,
us, there is a core tentpole structure of the con that doesn't change, from one year to the next, no matter what the theme. And I think that's why we're able to take the bigger swings that we're able to take.
mm,
But I don't think we're ever going to run out of like cool themes to tap from one year to the next. And I think this one's going to be a really really big one. But like you said, martial arts, music,
right.
art. There's so many ways that we can go from one year to the next. That like I said, I sometimes like I've been wanting to do slam for a few years now. But the timing, I had to do Thriller. We could not do Thriller, and then Geeknik. I was like, well, we can't not do Geeknik. Like that's come on, man. But these are all fandoms and themes that people it just went straight into the head, and we didn't have to do nothing else once we put it out there. Everybody projected onto it their highest ideals and their best expectations.
Mm.
So this year is going to be no different. So if you got a cosplay you planning, hey, start cranking it out, man. Be ready.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I got one in rotation. Uh, I gotta look into the wrestling one. Um, question, because anybody that have met you know that you, besides a wealth of knowledge, very open, honest, and knowing that some black spaces as far as conventions haven't got off the ground, but those that are interested in, and you're definitely not a gatekeeper. You're like, is the yeah, I see something with the black square. Is the black square what they would you use to help people who are trying to like conventions at least get that off the ground with the knowledge and the resources and everything?
Absolutely not. I would not keep track of my LLCs as a means of tracking my activity. I use probably to the detriment of anybody from a business school who would not do. I probably create and generate 2 to 3 new LLCs every other year for different purposes,
Mm,
some short term, some long. I don't really need an LLC to help a con or any nerd space entity come off the ground, because it's not a business for me. Anyone that I have helped, and I've helped a lot of conventions that are now doing very, very well at their nascent stage. Not to say that what I told them or what I shared with them was the linchpin to their success, but it definitely know where the potholes are, and I know where the speed bumps are, and I know where the liabilities and the risks are. And I was in a position very early on that was privileged to ask questions, because I knew enough to know what I didn't know. But more importantly, I knew enough to know that I did not know everything that I did not know, and wouldn't even have enough knowledge to know to ask the questions about things that I didn't know, because that's just how little I knew about some things. And I was helped that and by people who had that experience from other cons, and I passed that along. This idea that other conventions, or there's some competition, or it's just so manufactured, and it's old, and it's detrimental to the community. People thinking that there can only be one, or you got to pick one con or another, just like you got to pick one rapper or another. That's backwards. It's total backwards thinking, and we're the only ones that do it. My white con running, friends and family, they're like, what do y'all, like, we don't have that problem. Like, people may like one con more than another, but they don't choose one and shun the other, or pit those cons together because they're a little similar or whatever. And we're the ones that do that. And that, I think, also hurts our ability to create more spaces. There's no one convention that can serve the whole blurred community. And that's just crazy. I want as many successful, burgeoning, new, upcoming, creative, unique Black nerd spaces as humanly possible. If it's a good idea, and I feel like I'm talking to somebody who has the true intention of executing that idea, and are doing it for the right reasons. Because if you're thinking about, if you're going to go into con running and make money, stop. Just stop. Don't do it. This is not that kind of a business. If you are successful in a convention, you're going to grow exponentially from one year to the next. And if you are in a privileged enough position to have made money on 1 year of a convention, your convention is going to have to turn that money around and invest in the growth and expansion of the offerings, the spacing, the staffing, and infrastructure of next year's con to accommodate the growth that's going to come about for all the hard work you did in the year before. So your profit that look, we made this money, we're in the green. Like, well, no, you're not, because you're going to blow that money on a new sound system for your sound and light for your stage, and you're going to have more video games, and you're going to have, you're going to rent more of your venue so you can have more panels and more meetup space, and that keeps going. That never stops, right? If you're doing it right. So no, on one hand, I encourage all intent spaces, and there's more than just cons now, because there's party promoters, there's special event promoters, there's cultural event, managers and promoters, that are out there doing a wide variety of Black nerd events, even if they're not labeled as Black nerd. But the intent is there. It's either implied or not. My advice is free. The advice that was given to me was free, so I'm going to charge you, right? I have no interest in any con in the Black nerd space failing. A con that fails anywhere hurts cons everywhere. There's no agent dealing with talent, or a sponsor that's dealing with money, or venue that's dealing with the con runners, or you name it, that's going to look at a failed convention that ultimately cost them money, or didn't give them money that they thought they were going to make, and turn around and go, well, that's one con. Here, let's go focus all of our energy on the next Black nerd con. They're going to like, no, we're done with the Black nerd thing. That sucked. We're never going to do that again, right? So that everybody gets hurt when a con fails. And so my only frustration is when I see people that are not willing to step outside of themselves and allow for their the work that it takes and the work that they're going to have to do to create, maintain, and generate these spaces, to exist outside of them and their own personality or their own brand. Like, it can't be an extension of who you are, because you're ultimately going to be an imperfect vessel. I'm an imperfect vessel for BlerDCon. You know, I tried to keep myself as anonymous as my white counterparts are. You know, I would even guess to say, if I said, who's the con chair for MomoCon, I only bet 50% that you would even know that right off the bat. But you're right there inside the space, right? You know, and even you might have to struggle for a second. Like, wait a minute, it was that one person, blah, blah, blah. It's only us black cons that want to know the whole background and history of you know, who's running the con, where'd they come from, what they mama name, you know, all that sort of stuff. But that's what's unique about us, right? Most of us pour syrup out of a bottle that looks like a black maid. Like, if it doesn't have a face and a name, oh, Miss Butterworth, oh, Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben's, where our relationship to our branding and the things that we support in black businesses or businesses in general has that narrative aspect. That's a black community thing, right? And we have to accept that. But it can't be, hey, come to BlerDCon because it's all about Hilton, and this is what Hilton thinks, and BlerDCon is the mind of Hilton. Like, no. You have to take control of this space. I create the walls and the environment and the vibe, and let the people create their own experience. And so if ever I'm talking to somebody who's, you know, they got a brand, or they got a, you know, they kind of got a little steam, you know, behind their name, maybe a little clout, and they're looking at a con or something like that as a receptacle for that, or a direction to steer that, I advise against it, because now you're democratizing your brand, right? In a way that you would never do in your personal life. You would never invite 100 people into your house to tell you how to do your podcast and how to decorate your bunker, you know, or anything like that, right? You like your vibe, you like your camera, you like your setup, you like your lighting. This is what works for you, right? Mm-hmm. So if you democratize your space suddenly and totally, all of a sudden, everything that was working really, really great for you and things that you loved about what you're doing, all of a sudden they're coming into question. And if you're not the kind of person that can have that live outside of you, as BlerDCon lives outside of me, people critique BlerDCon all the time. Didn't like that, Hilton. Don't do that again. Yeah, that thing right there, man, I really liked it. You need to do that again. You need to do more of it. You know, I get all of that, and I don't take it personal, because this is a community thing that I have outsourced and have given over. And I don't know that people understand the sacrifice that they have to make in order to do that. An imperfect vessel spearheading a convention and ultimately becoming a steward, as I am, of the community that I didn't create, means that I have to hold myself, even when I'm not doing BlerDCon stuff, to a higher standard. I can't go into certain rooms. I can't behave in certain ways. I cannot be seen to, you know, do things as maybe I normally would if it was just me and my boys doing nothing else. But because I am representing BlerDCon everywhere I go, right? And I don't know that everybody is ready for that sacrifice. And I don't know that people are ready for the risk and the fear. Like, the BlerDCon is successful mostly because of fear and terror. The terror of losing my ass financially and legally if something goes catastrophically wrong, which is always on the table every single year. I look right down the barrel of my own financial and fiscal ruin every year. This is why you're like, dang, Hilton, I just saw you at New York Comic Con, and here you are at Zenkai Con, hustling for BlerDCon. Like, yeah, because I'm scared of shit. You seen this bill for this hotel? They gonna swipe my card, and they not gonna. The Bank of America ain't gonna want to hear it if that card don't swipe, right? So the sheer fear of failure makes me walk that tightrope at the trapeze with no net, you know. And I tell people all the time, like, hey, look, if you're not ready for that, don't do that. Get a podcast. Do a fashion line. You know, do something that you can hold a little bit closer to yourself and you can scale a little bit more slowly. I said, because the con running world is a discipline, man. It's like being a priest in a way. You're in it. If you're a con runner, the minute you become a con runner, you're never not a con runner again. Even if you stop running a con, you'll always be that. And so that's a big responsibility. And being a steward of the community is a big responsibility. So when I see somebody who's willing to take it, I back them 100%. There's no secrets. You ask me the keys to the kingdom, hey, do this, don't do that. I saw this here, stop it, go this way. Highly advise you to change your date. Highly advise you to change your venue. Highly advise you to revise your contract. I go at it just like it's my own stuff. And some people get mad at me. Some people will be like, hey, this ain't yours, Hilton. Stop calling me. And then I'll be like, sorry, I just had this thing, just got to make sure. But then once they get into the con and they get running, they get up and running, they'll be like, oh man, everything you said saved my life, man. I really appreciate it. And be like, that's what I'm here for. So don't be scared to hit me up. Just inbox me if you got something. I might not have all the time in the world, but this is not sequestered information. Not going to put you through the rounds and not going to charge you.
That's what's up. Because I want you to succeed. And speaking of a podcast, are you still doing the bop?
No, the bop broke up ostensibly. One of our members got a job. That happens from time to time, where you don't have the flexibility to log in and do all this other stuff. And Karen travels the world all the time. Literally all the time. But we had a lot of fun, and we're still really good friends, and we see each other at cons and stuff. And we may pick it back up at some point, because we were just having so much fun with it. And I love having these kind of open air discussions about things, because even though we're talking about nerd stuff 90% of the time, a lot of times, people just need to have that engagement. It's just like when we go to these cons. You see me at a con. At this point, BlerDCon doesn't really need to advertise as much as engage. 90% of the time when we're at a setup at MomoCon or any convention with our little booth and everything, most of the people coming by are folks that have already heard about BlerDCon, already attended. They just want to come in, get their fist bumped, chop it up a little bit, maybe take a picture, hang out, whatever. And that, for me, is just as important, staying engaged with the community. Because like I said, I consider myself to be a steward of the community, right? I didn't invent it. I didn't build it. I didn't create it. But I am in a position where what I do and the decisions I make affect the experience and the community in which those experiences take place. And so that's a responsibility. So if I don't show up somewhere, people are like, well, where is Hilton?
I would expect
he was supposed to be here. Right. It's like a thing, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna find a way to be in those spaces and stay connected, because that's really what's the most important. The people and the community are the business model. They are the reward. They are the reason for the season, if you want to call it that. And therefore it needs to be respected. It needs to be protected. And, sometimes just people sometimes just need to know that you're there and know that you're real. Right. And so showing up, that's 90% of the job.
True. I know you have a lot of plates spinning, a pillar in the community, and like, how do you balance your mental health with so much going on to like still show up and do your thing?
I don't know. There's a lot of ways that you can, kind of keep your head swivel, keep yourself level. Mine sometimes it comes in liquid form, but no, honestly, no, really, I am in a very blessed position, because this is all I do, right? I don't have to balance anymore this with a day job that I have to divide my energy and time through. So with me, it's BlerDCon, Nala, my dog, and the people in my family, right? And so the balancing part of it is not as bad as it used to be. It was rough the first 3 years before COVID. Like leading right into COVID, I was a hired administrative executive doing hella work. You know, I was on the board of a nonprofit. I was I was doing a lot of stuff and BlerDCon, and my blood pressure definitely showed the mileage on that. But now I'm in a position where I can actually just say, okay, Hilton George, the con runner, is who I am, right? As opposed to just something that I do. And as long as I have the tools and I have the team and I have the community at my back, it's really not that hard from, you know, that perspective, you know, now that you get into a rhythm and you've got your calendar and you know what to expect and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, you got to exercise, you got to stay cognizant of what you're eating, you got to hydrate, right? You know, you got to take care of yourself. But sometimes you need to tune out. Like sometimes you just need to turn everything off, run you a bath or take a vacation. You know, if the world wasn't so crazy right now, around this time, I'd be in Puerto Rico. I'd be on a beach. You know, hey y'all, Puerto Rico is not that expensive. I don't want to hear it that, oh wow, that's exotic. No, you could be on a plane from almost any East Coast airport and be in San Juan Airport in 2 hours for probably less than it would cost to fly, you know, anywhere. So take that vacation, you know, just do it. And you know, those kind of things, those breaks are necessary. You know, you gotta give yourself the grace, and you have to be your own best friend. You also have to learn how to have thick skin if you're in this kind of a position, because you know when you're a business leader, you know if you're running a large business that involves a lot of people, you know I was explaining this to somebody and they didn't believe me. I said, look, I ruin somebody's day every day. On the phone as sorry, that's not gonna we're not gonna sign, we're not renewing, like whatever, somebody's day gets ruined by me more often than people would like to believe, just because you're running a business. And if you cannot gird yourself and say, hey look, it's not personal, it's business, you know, I can't do this as an extension of my social life, I can't do this to be popular, I can't go into this to trying to make friends. I got less friends, you know, in that way as a con runner than I ever did as a cosplayer. Like I was more popular and well known as a cosplayer, you know, socially than I ever was as a con runner, right? So if you're looking for hype or clout or any of those things that you know seem to have importance, now con running ain't it. Con running is not the way to become more popular. It's not the way to get more cool or get more attention and all that stuff than you might otherwise if you were doing something else. You got to do this. It's got to be a commitment. And you have to, like I said, you have to protect yourself and protect your own mind, because I don't like ruining people's day. I don't like telling people no. I don't like, you know, having to do that. But then as a person leading a business, you often have to do it. And everybody's not built for that. Everybody's not trained for that. You have to grow into it. And I'm telling you, I've seen a lot of people who will struggle with that, and they don't take care of themselves. And I mean, look, I'm preaching to the choir. Carnell, you see people, even when from your press perspective, at cons like MomoCon, Sunday, I know you see 4 or 5 people who are just burnt. Like, I mean, they just, like, they're dead. They dragging their own dead body out of the hotel, and you're looking at them like they fell down a flight of steps. Like, what happened to you? And they tell you this story, and it's so unnecessary. It's like, man, I didn't get no sleep, and I was out all late last night because I was at the Trap Sushi party. I had too much to drink. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? You're working all day at your booth or with your panels or with whatever it is you're doing, and then you're killing yourself for 3 days, for 4 days, and then you're dragging your own dead body out of the Omni to leave, and you just You're sitting there watching the hit points, the health bars, just doing this the whole weekend,
Yeah,
and it's a matter of choice. I'm like, you ain't got to go out every night of the con. Pick one night. Just pick one night to stay out past 1 o'clock. Just pick one. Every other night, go in. You got to take your medication on time.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a little condition, a little hypertension. You might have like some joint pain or something, and you playing games, being funny because you think it's all fun and games, and it's not after you're 30. It's like after you're 30, you really got to pay attention to stuff. And there's people that just don't pay attention to their health, and they kill themselves at every con. Same things happens with the con running world. I see some of my team even that they're just killing themselves. They're just dead. And they got to spend a whole week in a coma after BlerDCon. I'll be like, why are you killing yourself? We can get more shifts. We can get more people. We can get you food. We can make it work. And it's just, it's not in everybody to take care of themselves. It's not in everybody to be their own self-advocate, right? Set their own boundaries, right? It can be really hard for some people because it's not the default. So you got to make a conscious effort to take care of yourself and keep your center, because there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot going on. These are people that you love. And these are people, for most of us, who are this is our friend circle, the people who go to cons. This is where I see all my friends. So I'm going to be doing stuff. I'm trying to hang out. I'm trying to catch up with people, trying to keep up with people. And you can't always do it. Protect yourself, protect your peace. And, be ready to, if you're doing this in a business capacity, you do have to make choices, like I said, that are not going to make you the most popular person. And you may lose friends. You may, self-separate from certain circles and certain activities and stuff like that. And that's part of your growth as a human being, right? But it's even more important if it becomes part of your community stewardship or your business model or the ambitions that you have, for what it is that you do in the nerd space. And the more you take it seriously and the more you take care of yourself, the better you'll do. And at the end of the day, people will respect even the choices that they don't like, that they see you having to make on behalf of you. So that's my advice.
I choose me. Self-love.
Right. Where's the shirt? I have one over somewhere, right?
Dude, that's funny. That's funny that you, because shoot, like I was only there for a day. I got burnt out, and I'm trying to be on a swivel and everything. I had a friend of mine assisting me. It was his first time, so I was cognizant of him trying to enjoy himself. Even though, like with me, the mission first is to cover the con. I missed the. You said trap sushi, but there was. Did they go to? No, I think they went to a Korean barbecue, and they invited me, but I was trying to interview Oppa and Princess, and I was just like she's coming, and and I just couldn't. I couldn't make it. I was like dang, but I got burnt out, and at the end of the night, I had this crazy headache. I got better later that night because I had to catch a flight that next morning. But I was just like, shoot, it was a lot. It was a lot going on just for one day, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So imagine multiply that times 4.
I know.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It is a lot, and it's beautiful. It's like being on a cruise ship. Everybody's kind of there. Everybody's around everybody. Everybody's popping up here and there. And like I said, there's a lot of folks that come to that con as their recharge. They may go to a bunch of other conventions, but this might be their home con. Like this, the con I go to for me, right? Not because I, have a vendor booth or because I'm cosplaying or whatever, but for my own self-energizing and my own self-nourishment, I come to this con. And that's what makes it more important, because we do more than 90% of the cons out there. Like there's just more going on at BlerDCon. There's over 150 panels and workshops that happen over the course of the weekend. Concerts, parties, after parties, video gaming tournaments, tabletop gaming tournaments, burlesque shows, comedy shows, you just name it. There's like always something happening. And most of the conventions I go to have similar schedules, but it's in such smaller chunks, right? So it'll be like, it might be a con that, he's like, oh, okay, they've got like 3 panels happening every hour on the hour between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m., right? And then there's going to be one rave, and then there's going to be like one cosplay contest, and anything else is really going to happen out there on the vendor hall, like the vendors hall's artist alley, hanging around there, maybe a photo shoot if you're booking it. And that's what most cons look like. But you go to BlerDCon, you just like, it's like every time you turn your head like 3 degrees this way, that way, there's something else going on. Like a food truck rally. Like, this is the largest attached food truck rally of any convention of any kind anywhere in the country. I checked. There's 27 curated food trucks on that one lot. And I've never seen another convention, or never heard of, could not find another convention that was not a food truck like event that had more food trucks. New York Comic Con's got 4, right? Dragon Con doesn't have any because they're in the middle of the city. MomoCon, doesn't have any, right? You think about all these conventions and like, well, why is this the only one? We just, and it wasn't something we were going for. But that's like a whole event in and of itself. You saw it. Like if you came to BlerDCon and didn't go in the building and you just went to the food truck rally, I'd be like, that was the best event I've ever been to. That joint was like, they had music and look at all this food and everything. You're like, oh wait, there's a convention also happening in these 2 buildings. So you gotta be careful because you will get burnt out, and it's not hard to do it. You just look up.
I don't know if you see what I see, but I got some on the chat that asked a question. Did Hilton learn any life skills in the Army that helped him be a successful con runner?
Yes, perseverance. It is a mental, not just a physical muscle that you have to flex to give 100% to do something, in doing something that's not fun or enjoyable, right? Or you don't see the end result and you're just hoping for it. I have the ability to step outside of myself and let me be my own avatar, moving about 4 feet in front of me for me to trail behind in the wake when I'm not feeling it for myself. I use that same avatar of stepping outside of myself to give myself advice. What would I say 10 years from now, looking back at this moment, as how to handle this situation? Most people know the answer to that question. Anytime you think you're stuck on how to deal with a situation, you say, okay, 10 years from now, I'm going to look back on this moment, and I'm going to want to come back into this moment and tell me to do something based off of real knowledge and real experience and real life that I have seen at that point. And what would I say? And you're like, I know the words. Like I can hear myself from the future saying, you should just shut up and do this. And then you just do it, right? But that perseverance is tough because there's a lot of body blows you take, emotional body blows, financial body blows, personality conflicts. People going to hate you. They're going to hate on you, and you have to learn how to not just shake that stuff off, but also recognize, that you got one responsibility. I only got one job, and that's to make a dope ass con. Nobody gives a damn about any other thing I got to say if I don't have a dope ass con for you to attend, right? Even the bullshit that, I go through with my little mini scandals and, I heard Hilton said something outrageous and pissed off all these people over in this community about something. I don't even understand what it is, but that guy's always pissing off somebody but at the end of the day, everybody is talking shit, everybody mad, whatever, shithole I stepped in by accident or whatever. At the end of the day, people are like, yeah, but I'm still going to BlerDCon, right? Because I gotta have a dope ass con. Otherwise, none of this matters because it's not about me. And as long as it's not about me, that protects the con, that protects me, that protects the community, right? And that means I can go a little harder and I can maintain a little more, a little longer on days that it ain't easy, where I ain't got it. You know them days, Carnell. You know them days where you get up and you're like, oh, I ain't got it today. Oh, I swear to God, I hope nobody called me on this phone. I hope this phone better not ring, child. I ain't got it. right? But then you get it because you're like, I signed on for this. This is who I am. People are dependent on me. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to smile. I'm going to grip my teeth, but I'm going to smile. I'm not going to turn my camera on during the Zoom meeting. I'm going to do all my meetings with pure contempt. I'm not showering today. I'm going to be in my pajamas. I'm going to be like the Big Lebowski in all my meetings. And I'm going to have my little avatar looking like I'm in business suit. And I'm sitting on my bed with a laptop on my lap with a Rottweiler laying next to me, talking like I'm doing business. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to show up. And that's what you had to do in the Army, man. You know, there's a lot of stuff you're not going to like. There's a lot of people you're not going to like telling you to do stuff you don't want to do. And you have to learn how to, stand on business when it comes down to, your day to day. And you have to learn that, sometimes you got to break some things in order to fix some things. Right. And then these are life lessons that in the moment you learn a lot of stuff in life that doesn't apply until you're old enough to see how it applies. You're like, I'm in a moment right now where there's a big lesson being told to me right now. But I don't have all the components of the equation to put it to use or to understand it. So I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to open up my mind, open my ears, shut my mouth, and I'm going to absorb this moment. Because in 6 months, 6 days, 6 years from now, that one other piece of the formula is going to kick in and boom, it's going to come together like Voltron in my brain and it's going to blow up. And most people don't recognize that. These are the people you talk to who you can't tell, the people you just can't tell nothing to.
Right.
Don't do that. I'm telling you, they can't even hear it because I'm not getting the whole Twinkie. I need the whole Twinkie right now, right in front of me, or I can't process it. Taking pieces of all the knowledge, the wisdom that the universe is bringing to you as you go through your good days, your bad days, and the pain. Growth is painful. You're not growing if you're not in pain, right? That it's an unpleasant process to grow. You have to literally shed your own skin, break some things, be uncomfortable, step outside of yourself. Part of you has to die in order for you to evolve and move forward. Ideas in your mind that used to be canon in your own mind have to die in order for you to embrace a new idea and move forward, right? It's like rungs on a ladder. You got to let one go to get the next one. And that's a life lesson in the Army and in college. Listen, you might not see this. Do you see that right there? That's Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, man. First of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. Next to the U.S. military, that right there, one of the most shaping and molding and defining experiences of my life, being a member of that brotherhood, and what it has done for me at the time and since, just can't be calculated. So those lessons all play in, and I've lived an extraordinary life. I'm in music videos in the 90s, y'all. If you watch some music video, you're going to see me. I'll talk to you offline, Carnell.
Okay.
I was everywhere. I was everywhere. I was like Forrest Gump, and I just lived a charmed life for no damn reason at all. And it just brought me into a lot of places and around a lot of people in a weird time that just happened to be the right time and the right place. And it's really, really wild. If I really write it down, like the chronology of my life going from like 19 to yesterday, most people wouldn't believe me. Like, you ain't, come on now. Like, I'll tell you the story. But that's another story for another day. But yes, that's a good question. I appreciate that.
No doubt. Yeah. Who did a couple of events? Well, what in particular? Who? Well, before I get to the event, because I might participate, the marketing for the VIP, like you got to tell us about what VIP entails, because just I just wanted to change, and I saw somebody, I was just like, let me just put it on so I can take a picture with it, because I was just like,
Oh,
that
Lord.
is such a hot. I was just like, I got this, but I was just like the VIP chain, that was hot. Who came up with that?
Me, I
Okay.
came up with that idea, and I worked with BlerDwood. One word, BlerDwood. Google it. Go on to Instagram, Facebook. These guys, based out of Virginia or North Carolina, Virginia, and they make everything out of wood. and they do some amazing things. They made me a BlerDCon emblem that was just unbelievable. And I said, oh, we got to figure out a way to make a badge. I had in my mind, it's like, I got to make the dopest VIP badge, the dopest badge that has ever been given out at a convention in history. We're going to make that. And we spent 8 months going back and forth, draft after draft, design after design, trying to find the perfect balance of simplicity, because at the end of the day, it's got to be a credential, so it can't just be something crazy, right? So, and it's got to be universal enough to fit on a cosplay, on a shirt, in a jacket. You know, it can't be too crazy, but it's got to be dope. And it also has to not cost $50 per, because I ain't got that kind of money. The VIP experience, see, that's the term. The VIP for this year is sold out in 36 hours at $400 per. And the VIP experience is what people are paying for. It's not a quantitative thing like, okay, well, how much is the backpack that I get? And how much is the hoodie worth that I get? And how much tchotchkes inside the backpack do I get? And how much of each item? I'm trying to math my way up to the difference between a regular badge and VIP to make it worth it. That's not how it works. People want the experience of feeling special, feeling elevated, but not apart, meaning apart, separated from the community, right? It's not like VIP in the club. VIP in the club, you want to set up as high and as far away as from everything as you can, so you can look down on the people and say, pathetic. Like, you want to, in the club, it's a different thing.
Right.
But BlerDCon, people like, I want to be where everybody is. I just want to be having just that much more fun than everybody else. Just that much more. I want to get in first. I want to sit up front. I want to get special consideration. I want to be able to get, my badge early. I don't want to stand in no lines. I want to be able to wear some fresh gear like this dope chain with this gold bar. And, that little stuff, the feeling that comes along with that is really what VIP and the VIP experience is about. Access to the Lucky Strike party on Thursday, access to the Bad Pass events like the comedy show and the Chocolate Rocky Horror Picture Show and the burlesque show and the special concert. All of that is included in the VIP. And there's only 300 VIPs. There's only 300 VIPs. We can't do beyond that. And I think we got one of the best, for the money, the best VIP experiences of any convention out there.
That's hot. That's hot. I must say this from the press. I think that was the only thing that was like getting some pushback because you weren't there and you had the volunteers. Some of the press when we were trying to, which leads into the Hoochie Daddy event. We weren't able to get into the setup early. And so we had some issues with that, so we had to hurry up and set up and get everything. It was like if that can be addressed, well, I'm addressing the man. But that was the only experience that was just a pushback as a press member. But
No. Listen, I'll tell you. Every year there are events that emerge. Hoochie Daddy was community. We didn't make Hoochie Daddy. There's a guy who said, I want to do a Hoochie Daddy contest. I'm like, you look at that on paper and you never seen nothing like that before. Like, this is going to be some foolishness. And there's going to be some foolishness people that's going to come into this foolishness room and have fun. It's going to be over there. It's going to be a thing. And some people talk about, well, how about it just blew up and caught fire, right? And because we didn't generate it and it came from the community, we don't control it in the way that we control something that we generate. So the Hoochie Daddy contest isn't something that we can say, because I tried to do it. I said, we need to bring the Hoochie Daddy contest into the Bad Pass events. So it's more articulated and structured and controlled. Like, when does it start? When do people file in? How many people can do all of that we can control, because then we can control things like, well, where's the press going to go? And how's the sound? Like, we would have more of a administrative arm on that in order to be able to make it a little bit more of a controlled environment as opposed to a community submitted panel, which is what it is. And they basically told me straight up, they're like, we don't really feel comfortable handing it over and putting it in, to a special programming thing. We want it to be for the people. We want everybody to see it, da, da, da. So just like any other panel out there, the control that we have over structure and format and all of those things is like this. Only thing we really do with panels is we have this block of time for which you can do your thing, and that might be a 1 hour block or a 90-minute block. We have this one room with this much capacity that you are to do that, whatever that is. Those are the parameters of which we control for the submitted programming. And as big as Hoochie Daddy is, it's still submitted programming. And we tried to wrap our arms around and be like, hey, come on over here into the Bad Pass events over at the Hilton, because you got more seats, you got a bigger space, you got a better stage, we got timing, we can control the flow of the people, we can articulate. And they were like, nah, because people got to pay for that, and we don't want to be da 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 da. And so all the control we have over it is kind of what you saw, like where people are sitting, when they can get in, how you place, anything as far as press, recording. We talk to them and say, hey, maybe you guys want to hear Hilton out and maybe become a little bit more of an official part of the con so that they can be a little bit more, structured. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where the community determines what the community, wants to do and see. And if they want to stay rogue or renegade or whatever you want to call it, grassroots, well, we got to let them do it. And there's going to be stuff like this that we're not going to be able to control. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see what happens in 2027. We might be able to get our arms around it, but,
That Hoochie Daddy contest was wild. Dana mentioned that it blew up from the panel into a few years ago, now the contest. So
yes. It's bananas. And that organic kind of growth is what I love most about BlerDCon. Most people, when they walk away from BlerDCon and they start talking about what is great about BlerDCon or what they take away from BlerDCon, none of the stuff that they cheer about or even stuff they give me credit for when they see me has anything to do with anything I did. Because people start talking about, oh man, Hilton, that this experience I had where I met somebody and I hung out with them and da da da. I'd be like, I'm not in that equation. Yeah, I didn't, right? I spend $85,000 on a sound and light system, up $20,000 from the year before. No one goes, I heard the difference, Hilton. I really did. That extra set of 20-inch speakers that you laid out on the floor, good choice. No. Nobody's listening. They're happy that it's there. They love it, but they're not tuned in on that level. So when something like that takes off and is totally organic, people take ownership of that and the con, right? These are the kinds of things that people wrap their heads and hands around that make them say, that's my con. Because the Hoochie Daddy contest is something that I grew and I built inside of the BlerDCon incubator, and I still have ownership of it. And therefore, I will never not be at BlerDCon because my baby is flourishing there, right? And you can extrapolate that to 100 different things. People might be saying that about their knitting panel or their nature walk that they do at 9 a.m. on Friday or whatever. But whatever part of the con that you take ownership of and you internalize is growth of the community and it's growth for the con, right? So on one hand, I'm really, really happy that it's gone bananas like this. But at the same time, I'm like, if we could structure it just a little bit more, we could do but I got to do my Drewski. I can't do but so much.
Did you see any of the footage, or were you in the back anywhere? Or you probably handled this. Did you see any of the footage of the contest?
Oh no! I deliberately maintain. Unless a law in the state of Virginia was broken, I will not seek out that footage because people have told me or have alluded to me what that footage contains, and I take them at their word, and I move forward. Look at me. Don't look to the left. Don't look right. Go forward.
Yeah, I kid you not. Man, the effect, because I wasn't, I had to film it, so I was watching, but looking off into the audience, they were enjoying themselves. They were enjoying themselves.
And it's a beautiful thing, man. I love seeing people having fun, and I mean really having fun. Like, the balloon pop video. I've seen clips from that, and I'm just watching people just bringing their top. They're doing the balloon pop in character and cosplay. Like, they really are just having so much fun with this cultural trope that is already part of our social media lives. People popping the balloon in the dating game, and now they're doing it with anime characters and stuff like that, based on who those characters are and what those characters would do or say, and that's huge. I'm like, I love seeing stuff like, because I would have never thought of it. Like, when I see other people's creativity going in, chef's kiss.
Nice. Oh man. So dang. So with this transition, go ahead. Dana said we get feedback. Are you hearing me?
My earbuds went out, so it might be a little bit. I don't hear it on my end, but do you hear it?
I do.
I can turn my mic down a little. Does that help?
Test. No, I don't hear myself. What? No, I just heard myself.
I'll tell you what. I'll mute when you talk and then unmute when you're done.
Oh, okay. There's feedback. Is there another mic? That's causing? Okay, we're muting. So with this transition, of BlerDCon, like, what other cons would you say that is your fun con?
Well, I would say for me, I really enjoy MomoCon. I really enjoy DreamCon. And mainly because, and I think and I'm just psychoanalyzing a little bit. I think it's because both of those demonstrate a certain overlap in the community that we've built at BlerDCon. It's not 100%, not even at DreamCon. DreamCon casts a wider net than BlerDCon does. They got, a whole different category of gamers, streamers, influencers that are a part of their community than most other conventions would have. But the Blerd community is in there as well, with all the fandoms, respective fandoms in there. And there's a lot of one-to-one. And they've managed to create a vibe that's similar but distinct. And I like that because it's different enough from BlerDCon that I can kind of enjoy it more, because there's part of it that I don't feel like I'm responsible for, or that is resonating with what I've already do all day, every day, and doing BlerDCon. And also, like, Texas. I love Houston. I loved Austin too. But Houston has just it's a real chocolate city, great food, little crime, but who doesn't? But just, the food, the people. So I just really enjoy going. Atlanta's the same way. I love Atlanta for all the same reasons I love DC. And MomoCon is the biggest pure out fandom con that happens in Atlanta. You'd say Dragon Con, but I think Dragon Con's kind of more like a Mardi Gras than a con. I mean, it's so organic and so widespread that it's a different animal in a way. But MomoCon is like, an actual con. They're like 65,000 attendees now, and the amount of people that I get to interact with at a con that I'm not like actually running is important. So I do get to let my collective hair down a little. And then, of course, the food. Love eating Atlanta food and hanging out in Atlanta spaces. So those two are the ones that really stand out. I also like some of the smaller get-togethers, too. I really do like small gatherings of people where it might not even be like a full-out con. It might just be one meeting session or an artist talking, about some work that they're doing. There's a lot of smaller gatherings that happen in places like DC and Atlanta that are worthy as well. But I will give you guys a hint. If you want to scoop, if you're looking for something that's kind of similar and kind of on that same wavelength, look at the Black tech community. Look at your Afrotechs. Look at your render ATLs. Look at Diversitech here in DC, BlerDCon up in New York. The Black tech world is almost a one-to-one Venn diagram of the Black community in the Black nerd community, right? They're all almost always one-to-one the same thing, and they don't know anything about us. So I can come in there and let my freak flag fly and get love because everybody's in their corporate mode over there or semi-corporate mode. And I'm running around in here, with my Wesley Crusher, Star Trek with my Dragon Ball, embroidered shirt on, and people recognize game, right? Even though, this is the founder of so-and-so such and such tech, just IPO'd at, $10 million, whatever. Like, yo, is that Dragon Ball? Oh, is that X-Men? And there's Black community in those places. There's Black spaces being curated and built and grown and gathered in all of these different sectors. If you've ever been to a NSBE event, which is the National Society of Black Engineers, you'll see so many of those folks and have that same type of vibe experience with those people. Extrapolate what you've learned at BlerDCon and at other cons and take that on the road to other communities. Be an ambassador. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit. If you're already in Atlanta, these things are happening all the time. There's probably something going on like right now in Atlanta that is blurred adjacent, but not specifically like a geek event. If you really look for it, it's right there. Be brave and don't be afraid to go alone, man. I love going places alone. I will hop on a plane at a moment's notice. I will show up in a city, and people, by the time somebody realizes I'm there, I'm already home. Did I just see you in Toronto? Maybe. I was just down at this event. I could have swore I saw you. You might have. Just do it, man. You get you a good ticket, make it happen.
Yeah, that's funny. Because the what was recent? Because it was one of those situations. I think you might know about because you know about so many different cons because you're in the know. I just recently found out about the Creators After Dark con, and I was just like, oh man, if I would have known, I would have had my plane ticket. I would have been there. I would have been there. I know some of those creators. I'm just like I'm a fan of their work. It's like, yeah. Next time. But I'm kidding because I'm thinking about it. I can't remember if it's was it Kevin Hart? Was it Kevin Hart that said this? It was something like do you not think that the owner of Starbucks knows such and such who said that I can't remember, but I'm curious. Do you? I see that you have no issues in lone wolf in it and going. What would or are you in any like I'm thinking about the Rat Pack, like who would be your Rat Pack?
So you mean like celebrities or just people in general?
Yeah, celebrities.
Easy question. So I would separate my Rat Pack into two separate Rat Packs because every pack in everybody's life you compartmentalize. I got people that are in my circle that I can do certain things with and not other things. And then there's people in my circle that I can do other things but not certain things with. And I keep them in their lane because that's what keeps our relationships flourishing, right? So I got friends that I would not ever go to Vegas with, as an example. They either don't have disposable enough income to make Vegas a comfortable trip, or they're not comfortable with traveling, or they don't stay up late enough to enjoy Vegas. Like if you one of them 9 o'clock yawning people because you got kids, you'll never hear about me about to take no trip to Vegas because you're not going to stay up late enough to enjoy Vegas, right? So for that group, celebrity wise, Atanwa Kanai, definitely want to hang with that brother on a one-on-one because he's a lot of fun. Atanwa Kanai, if you don't know him, is the brother who played the young King T'Chaka in Black Panther 1. I would say Walter Jones. Walter Jones is got a lot of energy. He's a lot of fun, and he is someone to be kept up with. Like if you go out with him, he's not going to be the one that's going to slow the pace down. He's the bellwether. He's the rabbit that's on the side of the track, the dog races that goes around the track and they all chase. He's that. So you got him. You already know that he going to keep the party going as long as it needs to go. I also think that it would be a good group of people who are a little bit on the conservative side. Like where would I go to an Afrotech with? Or who would I go to render ATL with? Or some places where I need to kind of like, do a little bit more of the grassroots daytime, community building, church hug, socialize and that kind of stuff. Karen Ashley. Karen Ashley is amazing. She is, it's weird. It's one of the hardest things about my job is to not fanboy around the people to whom which I am fans of, even though I'm having casual conversations with. Now, these are not just because of the level of fandom and fame that they may have achieved. Brian Newton, who you may know, was the director of the first 2 seasons of The Adventures of Rick and Morty, which is like those 2 seasons are my all-time favorite animated property. Best writing, funniest, most incisive, for its time. And he's a brother. And he also, directed the first 2 seasons of Teen Titans Go and did some movies like Trolls and the Smurfs and all this sort of stuff. Amazing, amazing director, super talented. And when I hang with him, I freak out like every 30 minutes and I let him know, like, Brian, every 30 minutes I'm going to freak out that I'm sitting here with you eating fries, at the bar, and just give me 30 seconds to freak out like, oh my God, I'm sitting next to Brian Newton. And then I'll come back down to earth and then we'll be fine. He's like, all right, man, I don't know why they pay me money. I don't know why everybody tripping, that kind of a thing. So, but Karen Ashley would be someone I would hang out with as a celebrity because she's got just such a level head, such a positive energy, patience, welcoming, so if you're doing business or if you're networking, you would never want to be with anybody other than her because she is just a star for that. And I'll be honest with you, there's some lesser known names that I think also would be in my wolf pack as well. I won't name them because I might actually be trying to. I don't want to preempt the invitation, but most of the people you see me hanging with at BlerDCon as guests are people that I actually end up enjoying and getting to know, and they are genuinely good people that I would have no trouble and no qualms spending personal time with, and like even with Redman, I'm sitting there having a conversation with Redman in an elevator, and I'm just like, I'm 15 years old again. I can't. I'm in my own mind. I got to keep it together, but I'm like, it's right here, You kind of have to pull back. Cree Summer, same deal. Like on the elevator with Cree Summer, you're like 14 years old again, But yeah, man, there's a lot of folks that I have met and I've hung out with who are famous, who are just good people to know. I'm not a super Power Ranger fan, right? But I hang out with all like the top 8 Power Rangers by name, like at least twice a year. And I sometimes have to remind myself, like, wait a minute, like these people have like generations of childhood fantasies and dreams and fandoms just on their shoulders. And we just sitting here eating burgers and talking about the weather. And I'm like, I just have to step outside of myself every now and then, because it's like every 20th person that comes by is going to be like, you know, and you're like, oh, here's one. They recognize you guys outside of uniform because they grew up on you, and that's a good thing to know, and that gives you encouragement, because sometimes you don't think these folks have feelings or are human, but they are.
Man, I was curious about seeing you at Ranger Stop and Pop. Um, Man, that's hot. That's hot. Dude, you're I'm dare I say a hardcore gamer. From just you mentioning the gaming chair itself. Um, uh, Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm curious. What's your comfort game? You gotta unmute. You're muted. Oh no, you muted yourself. Well, wait. Oh, shoot. Oh, mm.
At a certain point, um,
I didn't
sorry
hear
about
that.
that. I know. It's like, right, hey, happens, right? I was saying that most games stress me the hell out. So there is no comfort game per se for me. But it's like working out. You know, it's like going to the gym. You're like going in and you're exercising your cognitive reflexes and stuff like that. But I would say, if there is a game or a game format that does relax me, that I haven't been on in a long time, that I should probably get back on, it's my Oculus over here. You know, the VR world, when you're not playing a horror game, uh, is actually pretty entertaining. Like the worlds that are being built, and it's not as many of them now. That the blockchain and that virtual gamification of meeting spaces and socialization that came about during COVID has kind of collapsed. Isn't there in that same way, but the infrastructure is there, and there are some really interesting experiences that you can be transported to, with this technology that, just really lets you be somewhere that you're not, and in 360-degree way that you can't comprehend unless you've put a headset on, right? It's really amazing stuff. And I'll tell you what, we did an event for Lovecraft Country a few years back, and they built this virtual infrastructure, castles and worlds of music and escape rooms and stuff like this, that they took all these people on tours of, because COVID was happening, right? Nobody could really go out. They couldn't do red carpet stuff. So this stuff was happening virtually. So they sent me this Oculus, and they sent a whole bunch of other key people, and invited us out into these spaces. And what's crazy is they didn't break the spaces down. You know what I'm saying? It's like they built these worlds where there's like castles and labyrinths and, rivers and all kind of stuff, and it's freaky and it's wild, and it's you and it's still there. It might still be there now. And you go back into those same rooms, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get the sword and I'm gonna bang around, whatever. Like the program's not on, like the actors and stuff aren't talking through the giant heads and stuff, but you're doing an Indiana Jones in these abandoned, somewhat haunted temples that were built virtually like 5 years ago, virtually through these headsets, because they never breaking it down costs money. That's time, right? It's just sitting there. So there's less of it now than there probably was 3 years ago. But for a long time, like all of these worlds, like, just empty spaces that people are just walking around and traipsing around in. And you're like, you talk about open world. It's not like Legend of Zelda. This isn't like Final Fantasy. Like you're bumping into like real people who just happen to find the URL or find the portal that brought them into this world. Like, what is this place? Oh yeah, HBO built out this giant, a pyramid where if you put the right keys together, these portals open and they take you to these sponsored experiences where, giants sing to you from the clouds and, the ocean. It's crazy, man. So that kind of stuff is wild to me. But it's like, if you talk about comfort, the VR world's the only place you get it. All the other stuff is there to kind of suck you in and make you play. And PS5's over there, gaming chairs over here, pool table. I play the games. Those are the real stuff. Is the stuff that keeps me from getting stressed out. But the actual video games.
I won't say that I'm not a because I'm noticing my daughter kind of gets the same way I do. I'm just like I'm not a sore loser. I just want to win, and so certain things when I feel like I should have done better, kind of I might get a little upset. Might it's been plenty of times where I've envisioned myself breaking my PS2 at one point when it was the first machine that I've ever bought, and I see it clear as day, but then I come to my senses and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I felt it. I thought I might have to consider that. Uh, you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons. I have yet to play. Uh, I have yet to play. What is it? Uh, uh, what's the popular show that made it popular? Uh, Stranger Things. And I've been meaning to play, but besides wanting to play, um, I'm curious in your opinion because it seems to be because because Blerd is on brand. Have you seen any fandom, in your opinion, that really is that how to phrase it? That's all inclusive. That the showing POC characters in the best light.
That's a good question. Now, which media is this specific to?
Any popular genre that you would consider popular.
Horror. Horror is doing it. Horror is definitely doing it, and it's not accidental. I think it is very much because of Jordan Peele. I think it's very much, uh, you know, because we've got now Ryan Coogler uh, managing to tell stories that traditionally did not include us and definitely didn't center us. Uh, you look at a movie like Sinners, and you look at a movie like Them, and you look at a movie like Nope, uh, and, and stories behind the stories are all us. Like, so take the horror away, and you still have a story and characters and character arcs and character development that is on par with any Tyler Perry movie or Antoine Fuqua movie that you would see outside of the genre. It just keeps hitting over and over and over again because the storylines they've I think black directors have figured something out. The horror aspect of a horror movie only hits as hard as the normal framework that it is meant to disturb, right? So if you don't create a strong predicate, foundation, storyline, narrative, plot for which the horror, when it comes in, is meant to disturb, either because the demons coming back to life, or the aliens landing trying to kill people, or the time is shifting, or whatever, it doesn't work. you have to care about the characters. You have to know who these characters are. You have to enjoy watching the characters interact, even when they're in danger. Like, how are they reacting to this antagonizing force that is usually unknowable at some point, overwhelming at some point, and dominating the screen, when it happens, right? Be it a knife killer or a giant, alien spaceship that's eating people off the ground, whatever it is, they figured that out. And when they find that predicate, it's always something that is deliberately a story that is attached and resonates to us. And so the characters, are representative in a way that they couldn't even be in a rom-com, or they couldn't be in a comedy, or they couldn't be in an historical movie, because horror movies are, and I'm going to get in trouble for this for somebody watching this, I apologize, but I'm sticking by my guns. Just be mad. Horror is the purest genre of movie making and storytelling that we have today, right? Because to have a successful horror movie, you have to have successful aspects of all kinds of movies in that movie. The best horror movies are funny. The best horror movies have love, caring, and character development, characters who become closer, not necessarily romantically, but are drawn together and get to know each other and bond through the trial and tribulation of whatever the horror plot is going on. They come out on the other end with that, right? And so you got to have all the best kinds of movies activating in one film in order to make a horror film work. A rom-com just has to be romantic and funny. A comedy just has to be funny, right? A historical documentary or docuseries needs to only be accurate and tell that story. But mystery just needs to draw you in and keep you in the dark enough to have a reveal, right? They're very formulaic, and they don't have to have fear, and they don't have to have anything else outside of their genre in order to be seen as successful in their genre. And that's why you don't see horror movies getting a lot of Oscars, right? Because the movie critic can't sink their teeth into, oh, this is an amazing character study. Oh, wait, it's not just that. Oh, it's also funny. Yeah, but it's also dramatic, and it's also this, right? So when you look at us, man, and how we're being portrayed on the screen, the most accurate and in the most diverse, and if you think about the actors being given roles to which they can really, really sink their teeth into and step outside of any normal roles that they might ultimately get in other movies or any other movie, right? Horror has given them that opportunity. I mean, God, like, again, I go back to Sinners, and you just look at the complete movie that was. I saw that movie 7 times in the theater. And I saw it in IMAX, and then I saw it in Dolby, and then I saw it in 70 millimeter. And then I went back and I saw it again in IMAX. And then I saw it because this movie was telling me a story with just the framing of a scene. And the music was its own story, right? The cinematography was its own story. There was Easter eggs and things to be picked up and subtleties to be picked up, everywhere you go. And the fact that, like, all of the people on the screen -3 are black for the entirety of the movie is just, like, unbelievable, right? So as you can tell, I'm a big fan of that movie. But this is a trope that has continued for a very long time. I think maybe for the last 10 years. Some of the movies out there that represent us have come from the horror genre, and I'm surprised that that's the case. I wouldn't have guessed it 20 years ago that that's the direction we were going to win in, but we are winning, and some of those best stories are being told, and man, I can't wait. I can't wait to see the next ones that are coming out. Is God is going to be one of those movies that's coming out soon. I can't wait to see it.
Is God is. What is God is God is? What I'm not familiar. What's that one?
So Is God is a movie coming out from Amazon MGM Studios, probably in April, later this month or May, and it stars Sterling K. Brown, Vivica A. Fox. It's got Janelle Monáe. There was a play that it's based off of that if you're familiar with the play, it's probably going to be scene for scene for the movie. But it's a pretty dark horror-y story. And I'm telling you, it's a hard story to watch, I think, from the horror aspect of the brutality of it. But the story that's being told along the way already is being hailed as just amazing. And we were this. The only reason I know is because we were this close to doing something with that property at BlerDCon, it was just too soon. It was just too soon to really bring it about. But it's going to be coming out, I think, in May, and it's going to be amazing. But it's going to be black horror, and it's set in the South, and it's all black cast, and it's a lot of big names. And if you Google it, it's called "Is God Is." And I'm not getting paid to promote that, by the way. If I was, I'd tell you. But it's going to be amazing. So keep an eye out for it.
Later this year. Wait, no, I might be looking at the wrong one. You say Is God Is releases May 15th, 2026. Is it already out? Is it already out? Ooh, ooh.
It's May.
Sterling K Brown. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is different. The car. Yeah. See Janelle. Vivica. Heck yeah. I'm watching Paradise. I don't know if you're on that. You need to check that out.
I was on it even before I knew what it was. I saw just Sterling K. Brown, and I was just like, say less. Hit play. That's it.
Sterling seems to be one of those actors like Denzel. It's like I don't need to see anything else. Like all right, we gonna see this. Oh, she's stuck in the fire. Interesting. That's wild. Okay. Wow. Okay. Um, Interesting about the horror because I remember talking to TC Carson, and he mentioned something to the effect of sci-fi and and with the way things were depicted thus far, it's just we're not even thought of in the future or whatnot for the representation and whatnot. But where do you see um I mean, is say conventions and stuff, but like where do you see the cons the way things are going right now as far as new ones coming, going, the ones that are here and changing. Where do you see our inclusion in catering to our audience?
Well, that's a big question and a good question. So I'll apologize in advance if this answer runs long. But, you know, I got a lot of help early on by white con runners, traditionally white cons, in just every little thing in the year leading to BlerDCon. And I mean, just they are or were like me in that they wanted to see what BlerDCon could do. We were the only thing they'd ever seen that was like this, and I think that they appreciated me coming, into their space in one of their conferences for con runners called Project Anime at the time. And basically laying bare that I'm here to absorb like a sponge and learn as much as I need to know because I got a con coming up and whatever. That has morphed over time to as BlerDCon has taken off, where white con runners in non-blurred specific cons are starting to understand, one, that doing things to attract or to cater to your existing base of black and brown attendees or to attract a new base of black and brown attendees does not alienate your white audience if that is your core or is being seen as your core. And I think there was a lot of trepidation around the diversity question and the inclusion question at the con running level for a long time, because the trope was, well, if we do this too far, anything we do that is specific to Black culture is going to automatically, by definition, alienate the white and maybe Asian, attendees, because, that's just the way we see it. But what I am observing from afar is white con runners looking at what BlerDCon is doing well and replicating that to one degree or another at their cons, should they be interested in being more deliberate with the, diversity and the representation aspect of their own conventions. Whereas in the past, I think even those con runners who were interested in being more inclusive and being more representative, I don't think that they felt that they had what I like to lovingly call the institutional DNA to pull off something that would be seen as authentic and accepted and not pandering. And now that they're like, oh, we can have a DJ that plays hip hop or rap music or R&B at our rave or at our after parties, because white people like hip hop more than Black people. They spend more money on hip hop than Black people, right? Rap music is something that they really, really, really like. So having a DJ that plays it is not going to run white people out of the party. Like, wow, let's do that, right? They also get an opportunity to look at a cadre of vendors, panelists, artists who maybe did not have a background in presenting or in selling and setting up at big cons before BlerDCon. So we're platforming panels that might get their first run or their second run at BlerDCon, who then use that as a metric or as a resume requirement for the application to, say, New York Comic Con. New York Comic Con is not going to accept a panel from anybody that hasn't been done before, because the question is right there in the application. Have you performed this panel or executed this panel or activated this panel or presentation at another convention? When, where, what? And if you're not someone who's done that before and you don't have that, you can submit to your blue in the face. You're probably not going to get accepted at all at a big convention like that. But BlerDCon gave you the opportunity to get that one notch on your resume that you can then use to get qualified for consideration at a bigger con. So here's what happened. I was at Anime NYC probably 2022, maybe it was right before COVID, 2019. Anyway, so we do a con swap thing with a lot of conventions, and they'll give us a free promotional booth to promote our con, and we'll swap and give them one at our con. Boom, whatever, right? A guy comes up to me at the con, and he's like, "Hey, man, Hilton, what do you think about all these mugs stealing your shit?" And I'm like, "What? Stealing my shit? What are you talking about?" I'm frisking myself. I'm like, "My wallet? Who's stealing? What's happening?" He's like, "Man, I've been walking around this con, man. All I've been seeing, they booking the same guests, like the same artists y'all got. They booking the same vendors that y'all had. Got y'all panels up here on their schedule, like all up on the schedule from BlerDCon, everything. They stealing all the stuff y'all built at BlerDCon." And I'm like, "So you're saying that BlerDCon is working?" Like that's the whole point. Like, we want to give a platform to underrepresented, unrepresented people in the con space, in this case blurs, so that they can go and be recognized and have the confidence and everything to be seen on these wider stages, right? That's a win. And if they're replicating anything that we're doing that serves the Black nerd community at their con, that is also a win. That means that they're being more inclusive from a community that is more cohesive because they're at BlerDCon. Then now they're doing more cohesive stuff. They're submitting more panels. They're submitting stronger panels. They're submitting panels with more subject matter expertise, right? They're really better groomed to go out there and represent their ideas and proctor their discussions and all of the stuff that they might not have had the confidence or the resume to do before coming through BlerDCon. And if somebody calls me from another convention and say, Hilton, we are the whitest con, I don't like it, I really would like to have more representation. Do you have any panels or panelists that might want to come and do, some stuff at our con? I'm like, hell yeah, I'll send you my entire database. All the submissions for 2026, I will forward you that Excel spreadsheet. You can just comb through them. I guarantee you there's not a person on there that wouldn't want to perform that at a larger stage somewhere else that they might not otherwise go. So you're seeing that adoption happening at all the con levels. I mean, I'll be honest with you. MomoCon used to be just like every other white-run con in that they had some things, like they had the diversity panel that was built in, right? And the diversity panel would happen every year, and it would be made up of whoever was there that year. You might not have a black or brown person on the diversity panel. It might be an Asian and 2 LGBTQ members, and that's the diversity that they had for that panel on that year, and that would be it. And then if somebody gets accepted to do a panel for, black hair and cosplay, everybody loses their shit because they're like, that's talking to us. Bald brothers like you is going to the black hair panel because you're like, I got to see this. Like these mugs up here doing black hair at the big white con, yo, and the room will be packed. Like people be standing on the edges, just trying to. You don't even know what they're there for. I don't know what you're gonna say, but it said black in the thing, and I ain't seen no black stuff, so I got to come see the black stuff. And for a long time, when we would do panels, I would just be like the blurred panel. I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about. We're too young to have like a specific niche thing we're going to talk about. I ran like 3 years off the blurred panel. New York Comic Con, Anime NYC, MomoCon. I even did one at Dragon Con, just blurred panel, blurds, black nerds. And it's like, oh my God, that's that thing that everybody's talking about. Get it on there. Get them on the stage. Just me sitting on stage at a dais with a mic, 400 people in the audience, looking like this, because this is the blackest thing they've seen at a big con stage. Now, I couldn't get accepted unless I got some really niche stuff or I got a celebrity with me. Like, there's so much black stuff getting submitted and accepted at these cons now. I don't get no clout for just being a black con runner. Don't nobody want to hear that story no more. I mean, you do, but don't nobody want to hear it up on the dais. Yeah, black con, black nerd convention. That's me, black nerd, black con, black nerd convention, like that. Like then everybody got that. They passed that now. We on a whole other level. So you're going to see more of that, and that's great. I'm happy to get bumped out of the con space panels because there's just so much other diverse black and brown subject matter and experts out there talking that there's no more room for me. That's beautiful. That's a success. But you're going to see more of that. That's the direction they're all going to go, right? You will find, and I'll close this very long point out on this. In times like this, where black and brown people especially feel beset upon, our safe spaces and spaces that are committed to keeping us safe become a premium. They are at a premium, right? It's no accident that we had 15,000 people at BlerDCon this year. I mean, yeah, everybody's excited about BlerDCon. Is the word. But I mean, if you out here living in the world and you're watching Black history getting ripped down out of museums and ripped out of history books and history books being banned and burned and all of this stuff, and you're watching everybody trying to denigrate you and your history as DEI, everything you've ever achieved is only because you're black. And therefore, if we find out that you're in a position of authority, we're going to fire you because we don't want no more DEI. You're being minimized, marginalized, all of that stuff. The world is not safe for us no more. So when we see there's a safe space happening over here, and I'm in the rain and you're telling me there's an umbrella around the corner, well, damn it, I'm running to the umbrella and huddling everybody. You know what I'm saying? We got to get there. We got to get close together. We got to get dry. It's crazy out there. So it becomes more important for people to find safety in numbers, safety in community, protection, energy, support. That stuff doesn't come organically, like I was saying before, right? So the more of these conventions that are finding themselves better positioned to serve all of their attendees, if they're not a black nerd space, but are inclusive of the black nerds that are already part of their community as a con, they're going to win. They're going to win. And I think they're starting to understand that. So you're not seeing as much pushback when, you look for inclusion. You go to your regular con and just fast forward or rewind in your mind to what did this con look like 15 years ago, or however long back you and your experience with that con goes. And I encourage you to look at MomoCon. MomoCon has grown leaps and bounds as far as their programming and structure, right? To be more inclusive, to be more, diverse, take on a little bit of more tight subject matters. You see more black cosplay guests. You see black people giving subject matter panels and workshops that aren't, particular to being black. It's just a Warbler panel, how to make armor, 3D printing 101. It's just a black person, right? And you're seeing more of that. You're seeing more volunteers. You're seeing more vendors. You're seeing more artists, right? More comic book artists are coming out. That's the future, man. That's the future. And they're starting to recognize that. And the color is green. Let's be honest. We're the blackest thing that happens in Northern Virginia. Period, point blank. There's nothing blacker happening in Northern Virginia at any other time of the year than BlerDCon right now, right? And Arlington, Crystal City is one of the whitest quadrants of the DMV. You will never see a whiter indigenous population. Like if you're walking around on a regular week, just who's out there, it's just very, very white. And the fact that takes place in that space and is so successful and so well embraced. Because let me tell you something, y'all might not know this because I'm in the, they love us. Now, I don't mean just because we make them money and all that stuff. That's definitely a big part of it. But they love seeing the culture. They love how we act. They love our home training. We ain't no the group that big coming to any place and not acting up the way we don't act up. 15,000 people just jumping around on top of each other for 4 days. No cop cars, no fights. Nobody got pickpocketed, robbed. Like 10 years of that. They're like, and you filling up the hotels and you spending all this money on parking and y'all are nice and fun and interesting and all this stuff. They love us. They love us. So that is the future, I think, of conventions. I think you're going to see that in all the cons. You're going to see more inclusion. It's going to be more overt. Even though the times are going this way, politics and everything at the government level and that part of society is going this way, the community activism spaces are going in the exact opposite direction. We just happen to be ahead of the curve with BlerDCon, and we're uniquely placed to take advantage of that and benefit from it because we were already here. But these spaces are going to grow. People are going to buy in. Word is getting out, So look forward to seeing more of us in more numbers in spaces that you might not have seen us before, because that's the trend that it's going to be in, and that's I don't think there's any way back from it.
I love to hear it. Yeah, because you got me thinking about some other kind. It's like I don't recall. Maybe I was too young at the time and just trying to keep myself in a frame of mind to have fun. But as an adult, it's like okay, all right. Um, I love this conversation, and we about time. Um, I must say, side note, because with your experience in the fraternity and everything, I got to talk to you offline on that one because I got a story that I've been creating. I need your input on, but the close is out because I want to say like, what's the next con you're going to be at least with a panel? Like, it's just like you just gonna pop up anywhere. Um, what would you say that the people that are tuning in, like why do they need to be at BlerDCon, if not this year, in the near future?
BlerDCon is not just a nerd space; it's a black space. And I think for too long, the pendulum has swung in the other direction now. But for too long, we have been forced to self-select out. And there's a lot more black nerd adjacent people out there than will readily admit it. And I meet more and more and more of them every year who say, well, I'm really into anime, but I'm not that into anime to qualify for me to actually go to a place where anime people go, because I'm not as into it. I know my 3-4 animes, but I know there's people that like watch like 50. And I'm like, why are you self-selecting out? Right? I kind of like Star Trek. I kind of like the early Star Wars, but I don't like so much of it that I could enjoy a con. And what I tell people is that, BlerDCon is different from every other nerd space because it's also a black space. Remember, what we're doing here is that we're taking the black experience and superimposing it over the geek space. And there's enough black at BlerDCon that when you run out of nerd battery, it kicks right in. The food, the music, the vibes, the panels, the activities are all universal in one way, but there's also these black pillars that there's a barbershop at BlerDCon. What? Oh my God. There's a Spades Uno tournament and Domino tournament at BlerDCon. Say what? So you're not going to be, and I know what you're thinking. I've been to Anime Expo. I've been to the Katsu cons, or I've been to all the big anime cons where even I have been like, okay, y'all out here cosplaying manga characters. I'm done. I don't. Like, if it ain't an anime, y'all like, this isn't actually canon for the anime. It's for the man. Like, you're getting way too deep cut. I can't even follow you, right? So my battery's out. I need to go get some chicken at Gus's, right? So it's built in at places like that, but it's built in at BlerDCon too. So you may not think that you're a super fan or you're enough of a blerd to qualify to enjoy blurred spaces. Remember that this is a community. It's a family. It's a blurred space, but it's also a black space. And we need black community across all genres, across all designations. And people come to BlerDCon and can enjoy BlerDCon for 4 days for a reason, because the community is there, the vibes are there, and it sets the standard, it sets the bar, right? I know there are people, and you know who you are. I'm pointing at you. You know who you are. There are people for whom which I know you will never knowingly or willingly intermingle your blackness with your geekness. It's just not something you're interested in doing. You play lip service to me because you think I care about the story or whatever. You're like, I'm going to try, and I'm gonna, and all this stuff. I know that's not going to happen. That's cool. I know that there's a market cap of that. But if you are on the fence and you were wondering and maybe and if and on, just go. Come solo. If you got the money, come solo. Don't wait to gather a crew of people, and don't wait to make friends. When you get here, you're going to already know everybody. It's like going to your own family reunion. You might only know Aunt Donnie, right? And Uncle Gus, but you kind of know everybody. And that's the vibe, right? And I'm not telling you no stories. Talk to anybody who's been to BlerDCon. You have to go there. You have to support. And I'm going to say this for everybody. It's not just BlerDCon. We have got to protect and curate and support our black spaces. We cannot hope and wish and pray that they do all right and that the times are going to be fair and equitable to them, and the people are going to make money and they're going to flourish. We have to be active participants in the success of our black spaces and our black community, blurred community included. Now, we don't have the muscle DNA or the muscle memory, to really know in all the ways in which you support community, in the way they did during the civil rights era. But it's not hard to figure out, and being active in those spaces is not that difficult to do. It has been the honor of my life to see the community grow. It's been an honor of my life to see the branching out and the growing in all of the ways in which this community has saved lives, saved community, saved people, and is going to help us stay alive during hard times like this. And we've been through hard times like this before, trust me, and we survived. And I think because the community is out there is the reason why. So if the question is, why should somebody attend? some people say, you don't have a responsibility because you're black. I said you got a responsibility because you're black. I'm saying you do. You got to support the podcasts. You got to support the black spaces. You got to support the streamers. You got to support the vendors. You have to support the creators. You have to support the artists. Everybody out there that's doing something for us, by us, deserves your support. It may not always be money. It might just be sharing a post, right? Or liking and engaging something on social media, subscribing to a YouTube channel. These things matter, right? And for those of us who have money, spend money. Those of us who have time, spend time. Those of us who don't have either, just click. Do whatever you got to do. It takes 3 seconds to share a post. They got a button on Instagram now that just does this. And you just hit that and boom, it's shared, right? So that don't take no time. And there's a lot more of those, and they're going to be more important and more important and more important as we go into darker times. We got 3 more years of this stuff, man. So we got 3 more years of this, man, and I don't know if we're gonna make it. I'm doing this on the hope and the expectation that there's gonna be a country here next March. I'm gonna plan accordingly, but we don't know, right? It's my job to plan, but we got to bring it about. We got to make it happen. So. Yeah, man, it's just like your vote. You get what you support. And a little bit of a scold on here. We sometimes are famous for saying we want stuff and begging for stuff to happen, and then when it happens, we don't support it. And that restaurant that we was so excited that opened up closed, and we don't know why, right? Or that movie that's black director, black producer, with all black cast and all that, and it didn't do nothing because we ain't go opening weekend because we're gonna wait for it to come out on streaming. Like that's how we do sometimes, right? I see some of y'all. Somebody say, "Oh, name some black conventions." Y'all be like, "Dragon Con." Dragon Con ain't no black con. Y'all love the people, great folks. They're not black. There's a lot of black people to go because they're in Atlanta. I see people say MomoCon. MomoCon not a black con. The number of black cons out there are not as numerous as you think. There's more coming, but they all are smaller, and they're going to need your support. BlerDCon, DreamCon, we're two monoliths kind of out there. Everybody else is really kind of just coming up. You got to go to that con that got 400 people at it. You got to spend your money. You got to buy your tickets in advance. Right? That's how you support. You don't wait till the weekend of. What was that one? Urban Nerd Con? That man was waiting. He was waiting for them ticket sales to come in. I'm like, bro, that ain't how it worked. They buy the tickets. The last thing they buy. They buy the plane tickets. They buy the hotel rooms, and they buy the badge at the door. You got to be ready. So, long answer to a short question, man. Listen, we have to be conscientious. We have to take control of our own destiny. And I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, Carnell, but to your audience and anybody be watching this, we're not going to make this. We're not going to make it through this by accident. The dice are not going to roll out double sixes for us. We are going to have to work hard. We are going to have to be deliberate. We are going to have to sacrifice in some cases in order for that which has been built by us and for us to succeed, survive, and persist. Because everything else out there is there, Pac-Man the hell out of us, taking us down. And the only thing that's going to be remaining are the things that we protect. And if we just sit back and go, dang, that fell through, sucks for them. And then you be mad because now you ain't got a con in your neighborhood no more. And now you don't have any place to go and meet your friends and hang out with people that you hung out with because, the spaces that you used to love, you didn't get to support and they didn't thrive. We're doing okay at BlerDCon. We're doing better than most. We're doing fantastic in a lot of ways that matter, right? But even we need to make sure that everybody understands how to support us, how to support one another, and make it so that when we come out on the other end of all this foolishness, we got something to show for it. And that's what we work for every day. My man Carnell will agree. He's doing it every day. He's doing it right now.
Every day right now. I'm trying. But no, I appreciate what you do for the community. Appreciate your time because I know you're a busy man. But yeah, like I said before, I had a good experience. I can't wait to do it again. I know I said not this year, meaning if not next year. But I was there this year. I was there this year. But yes, we are at that time. So that is our show. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Again, thank you, sir. We got to do it again. Wealth of knowledge, wealth of knowledge.
Just got to call me, man. Hit me up. You know how to reach me. And I will be at MomoCon. And we do have a panel. I'm doing it with the USDA, the Forestry Service, the Society of the Society of American Foresters. We're doing some stuff with them. We might even be doing some stuff off site too. So come see us at MomoCon. If you just bust up in probably any Waffle House within a 5-mile radius, you might just catch me. If you can't find me, that's probably where I'm at. We ain't got no Waffle Houses in DC, Maryland, so I got to get it all in when I come to Atlanta. So I will see you at MomoCon, sir. See you in a month.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then. When they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if we put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. We will.